Welcome to the Fantasy Football Garage. I'm Chris the Candyman, and you already know what time it is. We're drafting best ball teams. It's Friday night. It's late, and it's time to hit the best ball streets, as they say. I have an extra special guest on tonight. It's been a great week of guests, a great week of stream drafts, and tonight we have the one, the only Hartman Fantasy Football in the house, going to be on stream, drafting with us. We're going to get into whatever kind of contest we can fill. So stay tuned. If you're new here, if you're watching this in the future, make sure you're subscribed. We've got a 500 subscriber goal for the channel, and I think we can get there before the start of the NFL season. We just need your help. You're going to want to be here all summer, drafting with us, getting in the chat, getting your strategy in, your questions answered, fantasy football every day, best ball drafts all the time. Come be a part of it. Let's kick it to the intro and then bring on our guest. But overall, it's like the guy can ball, like actions speak louder than words. What up, dog?
What's up, Candyman? Thanks for having me on, dude.
Of course, man. How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Better than ever. Ready to rip some drafts. Get out here, ship one of these contests, and I'm excited to have you on, man. I been seeing you getting into the streaming streets a little bit, and I'm pretty pumped about that. And I like what I see going on with your vibe and the drafts that you've been getting into and the teams you've been building. So I was pumped to have you on. I'm glad you can make it. Let's have ourselves a Friday night. What do you say?
Oh yeah, sounds good, man. Yeah,
Sweet.
I've been watching all these streamers. You like all the different streamers, learning from the best. So
hey, we're all out here just trying to get better and learn every time we get out here. So perfect. That's the perfect mindset. I wanted to ask you. Says Hartman, $7,400. Is that how much you won in best ball last season? Is that what are we looking at here?
That's my overpriced DFS price tag. Unplayable at that price. But the algorithm worked in my favor.
Fantasy football price? Your fantasy best ball price?
The Herzig contest, yeah.
Hell yeah. Love to see it. I'm pretty sure mine is 6,600. A steal of a value.
Oh yeah, value.
So going on that, I had Billy Jones on earlier this week, and he had some really cool data. He had pulled up the BBM5 data, and it showed all of the maxers, what their team builds were, what percentage they went 2 versus 3 QB, all the other combinations of structure and their advance rates and things. I don't know if you had looked at that this week. He posted on Twitter, but do you have a sense of kind of what team builds you were doing more often for BBM5 last year?
So I was looking all through his chart, just kind of at some of the different people and stuff. For me, the thing I saw on mine that I didn't really like is I was going a little bit heavier on like the 1 tight end through 6 rounds. That was on about 40% of my builds. I was kind of bought into the elite tight ends, and I think last year that kind of showed to be a mistake for the most part.
Right.
So that was something I kind of saw that I think I could like change going forward. Other than that, I was pretty like varying it. I do kind of a lot of different build types. I'm not really stuck into any certain like way or anything like that. Like I'm willing to, grab 2 RBs in the first 3 rounds or whatever, or just go like straight receiver, like full 0 RB. I think that's kinda like a good way to play it where you don't really know what this year is gonna bring, so just kind of varying what kind of builds you're doing, what strategy you're doing, because you never know what's gonna be the best strategy for the year.
Yeah, no
Um
doubt. I think one of the things I like to do is try to just get good value and make as best I can the kind of correct team bets and correlation and do all those kind of structural things that are those next level kind of drafting techniques that we tend to tend to really focus on as best ball bros, but maybe we don't use in like a redraft or a dynasty setting as much. So like more of like the tournament strategy for these large field tournaments. But I guess what I was going to say is I love drafting with people and having like a co-pilot to help me steer in a different direction that gets me off course of my usual grooves and that kind of thing. And so I feel like some of those drafts that I've done with people over the years have been they definitely are just like different than what I'm used to doing. And sometimes it's a good change up.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea, like, I've been kinda trying to do that with, just using, like, different people like, doing it on my own with,
Yeah.
like, different people's ranking sets and stuff like that, because sometimes they'll have a certain guy high that, like, I might not really be as high on, but it's like, okay, I'll switch it up this draft to kinda try, like, their ranking, how they're viewing it, or like you're saying, like, having different people on it just gives you, like, different builds that you might not make, maybe players that you're kind of fading or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like a really good strategy just to vary your make and maybe help you kind of fill like some blind spots or something like,
Yep.
just certain builds you wouldn't try, stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good approach.
I've noticed too, it's sometimes I do the same kind of builds too often, like a 3-5-7-3 or a 2-6-8-2 or a 2-6-7-3, and I don't as much based on what I was doing last year. I didn't build very many hyper fragiles at all. I didn't take only four running backs that often, um, and that's one thing that I think probably I just when I'm in the like going into these like faster drafts and then just drafting a team, it's more comfortable. So I kind of default to okay, I'll get a fifth running back. It's like I don't really need the third tight end, or I don't need the eighth receiver or the or ninth receiver, or sometimes even the third QB. And so I just feel safe getting that fifth running back. But one thing I've noticed, and I've done a few slows for the Schnauzer because I feel like I'm going to match the Schnauzer, but I've got like three or four of them left. And actually, I just entered a 30-second Schnauzer. We'll see. I'll give it a few more minutes, but we're still waiting on six. Um, for the Schnauzer, I was like, the only way I'm going to max this is if I do them by slows because I'm more focused on the other tournaments when I'm doing fast drafts and especially on stream and things. So in the Schnauzers, I've been getting different and not necessarily intentionally, but just because you're only making like one or two picks a day in those slow drafts, uh, things just kind of happen that are different. And I've noticed my team builds are like more radical or extreme than what I do in my fast drafting, where I'm just like reacting in the fast draft and I kind of stick to what I'm used to. In these slow drafts, I can like maybe be a little bit more intentional or just get different, and it's not like as hard because you have more time to think about it.
Yeah, no, I get that with like the slows. You're able to really kind of plan it out and like really, like, map out at least your next couple picks, if not, like, more than that,
Yeah.
especially when you're maybe, like, mid-range, like, 10 rounds 10 to 12, you can kinda map out how you wanna finish the build, where, like, in a fast draft, like you said, it's just especially with the 20-second clocks now,
Yeah.
it's just like you're just like, "Okay, no, he's a good pick, he fits, the capital I've spent at this position or that position, like, he's a good fit on this team or he's a good fit on this team," where in the slows, you're really able to map it out. So, like, I like to mix those in too. I'm definitely more fast draft type,
Yeah.
but I think mixing in the slows can really help you get to some of those more, like, unique builds that maybe you wouldn't build in the fast.
I have traditionally done, I think 90 to 95% of all my drafts fast. And then I'll caveat that by saying like I've gone on vacations before where either I'm just around family or people and I don't have time to like and it used to take longer to draft. For the 30-second clocks, you used to need a whole entire hour where no one's going to interrupt. And sometimes on vacation, that's just not really like possible. And during the summer, family vacation, that kind of stuff
Mhm.
is what I'm saying. Or I'm with like my in-laws, right? So maybe I could do it late at night, but um, what I would do is I would kind of load up on slows the last couple of years when I'm not at home. I don't have like my desktop set up, and then I can just kind of draft occasionally, like off and on all day. So I've used it for that reason, but otherwise, like I don't prefer it. And then there's going to be some small contests that are time boxed, like this first Schnauzer. And then I think about like a few of them that came out last year, whether it was a Pomeranian or whatever you could get into. It's like they would fill so fast that if you wanted to max some of these like 20 maxers, you could just do a bunch of slows as well, and then also string that along, and it'll close, but you could still have some drafts potentially going, and then get some camp news or some news that people wouldn't have gotten who did only fast. But for like a best ball mania, for these long, summer long tournaments, I really prefer the fast drafts.
Oh yeah. Yeah, same way. And like I agree too. If there's like time boxes that you feel like will fill, especially maybe earlier in camp, um, those can really be like advantageous to do in a slow format because you might get news that 80%, 90% of the field didn't even have at the time. If Torrey Horton's starting to have a great camp or something, some 18th round player, receiver, running back, Jarquez Hunter's taking over the backfield, something like that. It's like you might get news that no one else in that tournament really had access to, or a very small portion at least. So
Yeah, especially as we get closer to the season start, that makes a ton of sense. I've entered us into a 30-second Schnauzer and a 20-second Schnauzer. The 20-second one is 8 out of 12, so it's going to fill. I'm going to back out of the 30-second one, and let me just confirm that I'm still in the right one that I think I am. Yeah, I think we're waiting on 4 more in the 20-second Schnauzer. No, this is the 30-second. Sorry. I actually just exited the 20-second one. It looks like someone else joined, so we're still +4 for a 30-second Schnauzer. Maybe we'll take a quick peep into the 30-second puppy, because I don't really have a big preference on what we draft tonight. I just want to get some going, and I kind of prefer having 30 seconds just so we can talk it out and get some of the picks that we like, being co-piloting this draft together versus just ripping a 20-second and then have, kind of, maybe we'll get there. Maybe after this first one or two, maybe we can like see if we want to rip some more 20s just to get through more volume. But actually the 30-second puppy's waiting for 9. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that one.
all the sickos probably already maxed the Schnauzer.
That's
No,
what I was
no one
thinking
can.
too, is I've left myself 3 or 4 bullets for the Schnauzer, and it's getting close. We're waiting on 3 for a 30-second Schnauzer. It's kind of a
I
funny
think
one to
I
do,
did
like
the
you
same,
said.
like 3
The
left.
sickos have been
Oh,
maxing it.
sorry.
No, sorry, you're saying?
I did the same thing. Like I think I have like 3 Schnauzers left or something. Probably just rip them like kind of close to the end.
Yeah, I've been kind of holding on to them, and but we'll just, feels like one to get into, and we can see. I mean, I entered a sprint, I entered a marathon, I entered an eliminator, all 30 seconds, and none of them were close. They were all like +8 or +11. So I think the Schnauzer's going to fill any second now, and we'll get into it. Looks like we got hit him with the gritty stopping by. Appreciate you being here, Mike. Hope you're having a great Friday night. Saw Nick in here. Appreciate you, Nick. Hope your streams have been going good this week, and hope you're looking forward to this weekend. We got Disbanded. What up, brother? Bindles, the stud, the guy who doesn't take shit from anyone. He smokes his stogies inside. The co-host of the Ballsy show, which is going to be this Monday night, 8:30 Central on Bindles stream. And so we're going to be on his channel. We're going to be kicking that off Monday night, flip-flopping
That's
back and forth between our channels. Super excited for that one. And then we got Pat in here. What up, Pat? How you doing? How's your Friday night going, my man? Appreciate you saying what up. And Das Brew Crew, how you doing, my man? What's up? Did anyone else fit into this one? We're doing a 30-second Schnauzer. I was going to ask, I don't know if I mentioned, Hartman, did you finish your... No, you said you had like 3 left, right? You have like 3 Schnauzers left?
Yeah, similar to what you did. I'll probably like rip them in right near when it's closing or something. Just kind
Yeah,
of,
exactly.
get a couple in right at the end. Yeah.
I don't know that I recognize anyone else in here. I think I've seen a few of these names before, but it's kind of funny is when the fantasy best ball came out on Monday, and I can't believe it's only been like 5 days. Our news cycle and our best ball kind of, what's going on in the best ball community, it just changes so fast. It's like last week was the RTAs, this week it was the fantasy best ball, and it's already moving on. So would you want to go Saquon, CD, Jefferson? What's kind of your lean on this 2-spot pick?
I'm cool with Jefferson or Lamb. I prefer to go receiver here.
I think I do
Um,
too. It just feels like Lamb or Jefferson with Jacobs or Bucky feels stronger than Saquon with like T or Marvin Harrison or something. Would you prefer Lamb or are you cool with Jefferson?
Jefferson's fine. Jefferson's
Yeah.
fine. You got him ranked
Yeah.
higher. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing a little bit of a stand on Lamb this year, like especially in the smaller contests. But I don't really think you can make too much of an argument against taking either one of them there. But Jefferson has a higher ADP, so it's always good to kind of get a guy like that so you don't end up way too underexposed or something.
No doubt.
Um,
It's hard. Like I don't want to be underexposed, so I kind of have them ranked mostly that like in order in the first round. I kind of swap some, and I don't always follow my own rankings. I definitely like CeeDee Lamb this year as well with a healthy Dak, and he's just got such a high weekly floor, and then a really good scoring ceiling too. Um, I think I feel like you can't go wrong with one of those first three receivers, and then for the
well,
running backs,
then
it's like it's just it depends on what you're kind of feeling for the entire draft to commit to one of those running backs so early, even though it's probably a great pick. It's just you have to it's the opportunity cost, right? It's like what you're going to do with your next two picks.
right, I feel like when you're on this like left half of the board too, just like you said, the second and third round, at least one of those picks, I feel like the best pick is usually a running back.
Yeah,
Unless the board goes really wild, like you're still getting top tier running backs, or you've kind of fallen off a tier at receiver once
no
like
doubt.
AJ Brown, Ladd are gone.
Yeah, I know, and I think the more I think about it, like Ladd is such a good value if he goes to mid or to mid late second round. Like I really like
Mhm.
pairing up Ladd with one of these other receivers that goes in the first round. I've been lucky in some rooms and just I don't know if I've done it in a BBM yet, but I was doing it in the big board and I think I've done it in some puppies. You can get like Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb in like this 5, 6, 7 range if you get really lucky. And then you also get like a Lad McConkey that comes back in the second round, and that feels super strong.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. If you because sometimes like yeah, you'll see the running backs go off before and they'll leave you like Jefferson or Lamb. And then if you can pair him with Lad McConkey or AJ Brown, that always feels like a great start. Like you can kind of do whatever you want after that with your next couple picks. You could even grab like an elite QB and then grab Kittle in the fifth and still
Mm-hmm.
feel fine at receiver, like you're not behind.
Oh yeah, that's something too because I've been taking a bunch of running backs in the first 6, 7 rounds. I'll get two, I'll get three, and not flinch. But I do feel like I want to get back to my roots of being, kind of more of a zero RB bro and a hero build. I did mostly hero running back builds last season. Can't say that it worked out perfectly. Might not have been the right year for it, but I think just from a strategic standpoint, it makes a lot of sense with getting those high value wide receivers first, the guys who can win you the entire tournament in week 17, and then figuring out at running back. Running backs, more can be more opportunity driven, and then you can get guys that hit in the middle to late rounds at running back. Where at wide receiver, it's very hard to do. So I think getting the talented guys in the first couple rounds, regardless of position, whether it's a tight end, a running back, or a receiver, just going for the talent in these first couple rounds makes a lot of sense to me. Where there's guys that are more opportunity driven, slight fade, but even opportunity guys like Chase Brown and Kyron are hard to fade when they're in such good offenses.
Um
What are we looking at here? So I'll shoot back to ADP. Are you taking Trey McBride in the second round? Would you want to swing on him here, or would you want to go more running back or wide receiver first?
I mean, I'm totally open to taking Trey McBride. I
Yeah.
have a lot of McBride and Bowers, but I do like Jacobs here too. So McBride or Jacobs, either one.
Let's grab McBride. I haven't been getting as much of him because I think it's a really steep price for a tight end. But I think because we're on the two spot, we're gonna have a good chance of getting another player we like, with our next pick. And then I was gonna say I
Yeah, and I
have
mean,
uh-huh.
oh, go. Or I was gonna say, I'm also like very comfortable taking like Rice here in the early third.
Yeah.
I mean, any of these receivers, I think any of the guys on the screen you can make the debate for at
I think so
receiver,
too.
but um,
I
I mean,
probably
I'm
wouldn't want
personally big.
Harrison with McBride most of the time. So that's the only one I'm leaning against right now, or like not going for. But McLaurin, Rice, even Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson, very talented. Can just command targets. Rice, I think I'm high on with you as well. And then McLaurin, I think if it just continues what he was doing last season, it's going to be insanely good again for fantasy. Let's try to big
Yeah, and
brain this.
especially
What
if
can
the
we do
offense
here?
improves.
Uh huh. Sorry.
Um, oh no, go ahead. Yeah, there's not really much correlation we can get here, I don't think.
I'm cool with
Um,
rice and just having a bag of rice right now, which kind of sounds
okay.
like what's for dinner, but a bag of rice. But the I still just think that there's a little bit of that fear that's holding back his value, like where his ADP, where he's going.
Yeah, I think once camp opens, if he's like practicing fully, I think he'll like really rise up the board and could probably even push into where like maybe T. Higgins is, maybe even push up a little bit more to like Lad McConkey range. Probably won't pass him, but could push up to like right next to him, and that wouldn't shock me at all. So that's kind of why I like grabbing him early. I mean, obviously we're pulling him up a little, so it's not like we're gaining a ton of value. And this is like time boxed, but I could really see, like, Rice rising up into that, like, mid-second, late to mid-second range, as the summer progresses. But
Definitely.
I think, like you said, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, like, you can absolutely make the argument for either of those guys over him too. Garrett Wilson does worry me a little just with the offense overall. And then
Sure.
I think with Terry, you're just kinda hoping that Jaden continues to improve. And I could definitely see him being a good pick, especially if, like, him and Jaden kinda have that, like, Rodgers Devontae connection where that's just his guy in the red zone. I could definitely see that being the outcome in Washington.
And I think it's like it just seemed like when you look at offenses, what has changed year over year for the fantasy situation, the clear signal is that Jaden Daniels came into that offense, elevated everyone. Ertz has a bounce back year. Terry has a career year, and it seems like all cylinders go kind of thing. Just uh, I feel like it's we've kind of probably counted Terry out in the past as just being like a guy. But in this offense, there's no one else that's going to push him for targets, and I don't think it's Debo because I think Debo's going to be could be fun in that offense. I'm not getting a ton of Debo, but he's not going to be like a target hog that I think McLaurin is going to continue to be, at least.
Right, he never I mean, even in his prime, he was never really, like, a super target dominant receiver. So,
Right.
so I could oh, what's up, Fantasy Dog? Uh, yeah, so I could definitely see Terry, like, keeping his real target dominant role, and then, a guy like Ertz too, like, I think he'll start off pretty strong, and I do think he's a good pick where he goes, but you could easily see a guy like that fading as the season goes on, which might even help Terry down the stretch, right? Just given his
Yeah.
age, like, an older player is kind of fading as, like, the season goes.
No doubt. What up, Fantasy Dog? Appreciate the likes and the shout out. What up, Trith? We got Putt Daddy in here. Reflect the Sun. How you guys doing on this Friday night? Hope you're having a great start to a long Memorial Day weekend. So let us know what you're up to. If you got any cool plans, if you're going to be drafting. We're going to be ripping some drafts tonight. Interesting thing, Jalen Hurts just went as the first QB off to the board. The guy in the
Yeah.
12 spot goes Derrick Henry, so already a little bit bold. AJ Brown at 13, Devonta Smith at 36, and then Jalen Hurts at 37. Maybe he's getting different. I haven't seen anyone do that in a draft. This is a 30-second schnauzer, so maybe people are getting a little bit weird or just trying to at the end of it get your exposures into certain things you haven't built yet. That's definitely a new one for me.
Yeah, I haven't quite seen a build like that yet. I mean, it it's interesting. I don't think any of those picks, like, on their own are a terrible pick, but I think putting that much of your capital into, like, a team with, projected kinda lower passing rate, it can just be like a little bit too much risk when you don't really have another receiver in the first to kind of help you carry the
Yep,
load. Like,
100%
how
agree.
are Devonta and AJ Brown both going to hit when they average like what, maybe like 23, 24 passing attempts a game, something like that? How are both those guys going to hit your lineup as your one and two receiver?
100% agree. And that's maybe a reason why I steer away from the Marvin Harrison Jr. McBride at the 2-3 turn a little bit is because Kyler doesn't really have the craziest passing volume either. I mean, it's good and it's maybe good enough, but I don't know. It still seems a little bit steep for me. I guess I'd have to think about that more because then when I say it, I'm like, well, maybe he could, but my ranks. So I update my ranks as often as I can, and if I sort by ADP, it's a little different. Would you want to go more of a Sutton
Uh,
approach or Flowers approach?
I mean, I'm cool with
Mixon.
Flowers. I mean, I think that's that's a guy you have ranked really highly. I can see the bull case for him. Um,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
kind of a toss up. I feel like we could have taken Sutton for the Rice bring back and get ourselves into that game. He might still be there with our next pick, anyways. Looks like Pickens goes a little bit early. We also could
Oh,
pivot over to running back and get Mixon. I'm also kind of feeling like this is a draft where maybe we can push running back a little bit. Would you consider going Harvey here for the Rice game stack? Or would you think
I
Sutton is just the obvious one?
I think if we were gonna go for the game stack, we should take Sutton.
Yeah,
Um, because I think I'm more comfortable going like zero RB early, and then we'll kind of have to catch up a little bit in the next couple rounds. But like you
no
said, it
doubt.
doesn't seem like they're really ripping off the board. So we might have a good opportunity to get someone at a decent value on that 6-7 turn.
That's a good point too. Hartman, I'm gonna go. My Wi-Fi seems like it's. I'm not even on my Wi-Fi. I'm actually plugged in, but it sounds like my internet is just like struggling. I'm gonna go unplug a security camera that I think is bogging it down real quick. So I'm gonna do that. And I'll be back in like 10 seconds, but I'll let you just say what up to the chat, and I'll be just right back, guys.
All right, cool. All right. All right, yeah. What's up, guys? I see Fancy Dog, Reflect the Sun, Putt Daddy, Zero RB. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think this is a good year for zero RB. Like I I think there's a lot of running back value in that like round 6 to 10 range. I think you can get like really viable starters in there. So I don't really I don't always go zero RB or something. I'm not like total zero RB, bro. But I think it's a completely viable build. Um, let's see what else. Have to do it all on my phone, which is a challenge for a newbie. Oh yeah, yeah, doing the drafts on your phone when you're not used to it. Yeah, see, I'm a big to reflect the sun's comment. I'm like a big phone drafter actually. But like I get it. If you're used to the computer, like I get how that could be a struggle trying to do it on your phone, especially if you're doing like a 20-second clock or something. Uh Def different on the phone. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, on the phone, like if you're used to the computer experience, then I can see how that'd be trouble. I probably do like I use the overlays and stuff, like the same one that Candyman uses. But if you're used to that, like I could see how you would struggle on the phone pretty bad.
What I miss?
Nice, nice shirt. Oh no, I was just talking chat. Like zero RB, that's what I'm talking about. And then reflect the sun trying to do a draft on their phone when they're not used to it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the
Yeah.
phone experience is so different than the desktop experience. If I'm not on stream, I'm probably on my phone. I- Probably more than half of the time, just because I'm like walking the dog in the backyard, exercising, and then if I'm on my desktop, I like having all the resources and tabs and things. But I feel like the more I'm streaming drafts, the more I'm actually using the desktop, and now like I'm using the best ball overlay as well, and so I that makes me want to use the desktop even more. But it's just the app is just on the phone is so good and easy to use. I feel like a lot of people default to that in general.
Oh yeah, I used to be like maybe last year. I was probably like 90% mobile drafts. And then using the overlay, like kind of get more used to it. Like that definitely made me go to the desktop a lot more. Because originally I was like exclusively a phone drafter pretty much. But then it's like when you see all that data and you're kind of like, not having that there, then you're kind of trying to scramble to like look up the correlations or something like that if you don't have them memorized yet. And then, on the desktop, it just makes it so much easier.
100%. Yeah, I have done a good amount of phone drafts, but I feel like I do more and more desktop drafts every year that I'm in it because I guess I don't know if I'm using more resources or I just kind of have gotten used to it finally. And then, having if I'm multi-tabling, I feel like the phone can be pretty quick, and the desktop is actually a little bit more laggy. Like
Yeah.
if I'm doing
Yeah. No,
like
I
two or
agree
three.
with that. Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you're trying to multi table, like sometimes on the desktop, you'll get that like 0 second clock or whatever. You don't know how much time you have. And then you're like panicking. Where yeah, on the phone, it does feel like a smoother experience overall. It's just nice having all that extra data.
So I've got
Oh, go ahead.
Quinchon kind of ranked pretty highly. We could keep pushing it, and I know Caleb Johnson's another good pick. Do you prefer Caleb over Quinchon, or how's your rank on that?
I'm definitely Quinchon in that
Okay.
one.
Would you be
I
interested in a
just
Godwin or a Samuel ahead of Quinchon, or just hit Quinchon here?
I think just hit Quinchon here.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of good receiver options still available.
right.
Um, yeah, we don't really have anything that correlates with Godwin, even though he is a good value. I do like Godwin, but I think to grab a running back here that I feel pretty good in, I think that's probably the better move given our build.
Yeah, I'm taking a look. I mean, we've got, you know, I'm not saying Mahomes will be there on our next pick. McCarthy might be there later. Knicks could be there with our next pick or even later after that. So we've still got some outs. I draft a ton of Golden, so I'm happy to get off that click. Godwin's a good, kind of a faller here, and I love pieces of good offenses like the Bucks. And I
Um,
don't always follow my ranks. I just kind of have them ranked what I think I would want to do most of the time.
I mean, with
Diggs,
Golden, we do have the Zay Flowers correlation though, so that
yeah.
could be pretty good. But I mean, that is a pretty nice fall on Godwin. Maybe we should just scoop the value.
Let's just scoop it there, and it gives us one more QB as well. I mean, Golden would too, but just something different. I think when I look at a lineup and I see all of these names at wide receiver, it feels really strong. And
Mhm.
I obviously like Golden too, but maybe we made our rookie bet on Quinchon, and then we have these vets at the wide receiver spot to kind of balance it out. Our tight end is already looking good, right? So we've so many different QB options that are available. It's really just Lamar that's already gone.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of ways too. Like Tampa Bay, that's Miami, right?
Yeah, Tampa Bay, and I'm just uploading my CSV file because I realized I re-downloaded Best Ball Overlay right before the stream, so I've got to
Oh,
re-upload my CSV and I got to find it too, my most recent one, and then I'll bring it back on. But yeah, Tampa Bay Miami is a pretty fun game and one that would be like if I had a Week 17 sweat, it's one of the places I would consider flying to go watch a game because it's like such a nice being South Florida in that time of year is it's got to be nice, right?
oh yeah, yeah, that would be pretty cool. And then like with Tua's schedule, it's really nice because you don't have to worry about the whole kind of narrative with him is like he can't handle the cold games. So it's a pretty nice like run out that he got where he's playing like I think his whole playoff schedule is all domes or like warm weather, right? I think like his week
You're
15,
saying
16,
for Tua?
17. Yeah, yeah, like for Miami.
I get
Um,
let me because I guess so because they've got Cincinnati in week 16, but it's at home. They've got Tampa
right.
Bay at home in week 17, and I don't have their week 15 memorized. But do you happen to know, or I guess we could look it up
Uh,
too.
I'll look it up real quick.
Cool. And then yeah, I just got my exposures reloaded in. I'm gonna refresh to get the combo tool to pop up. and then we go back to the board, see what's going on over
Uh,
here. Mahomes did
oh,
go. I don't think we were going to take Mahomes necessarily, but one of our potential QB partners.
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was too likely to make it back to us. There was a chance though. But I think with having like so many outs at QB, it's not really worthwhile to like reach up and grab one, especially this early on, like round 7.
Yeah,
Um yeah, because we have so many options at QB that we can get.
true. What up, Steve? How you doing tonight, my man? Hope you're having a good
Up, Steve.
Friday, getting some drafts in. Kelsey goes pretty early. I can't hate it if you're already committed to Mahomes. It's like, I mean, making a bet on Kelsey is very logical. I just think I don't know. I
Yeah,
guess it's not that. It's a little bit expensive
to see him
for.
go right next to Hawkinson doesn't feel like wouldn't feel great as a pick. I mean,
Yeah,
I do get the idea that they're going with though, kind of that nice little like double tap, but
and he didn't
they didn't
have
have Worthy,
he
right?
didn't have Xavier Worthy either, so it makes sense. He missed out on Worthy by a pick, and then for some reason he still takes Mahomes, and then immediately backsacks it with Kelsey. I just think Kelsey could have been there at 106. Maybe it's not worth the risk though if you're already making that bet. So maybe it is pretty logical. But we're about to be back on picks 95 and 98. We could do Kyler with our McBride, which I think makes a ton of sense, right?
Oh
Egbuka
yeah.
for the Tampa Bay double stack, and then Knicks could be there on the other pick as well. I guess Baker Mayfield just went, so maybe we don't have to double stack, Egbuka and Godwin. We don't like that's kind of it's kind of rich
Um,
for having 5 wide receivers already.
so can we see a running back quick?
Yeah,
So
by
I think
ADP it's Cam or Tracy, and then I also have Mason ranked pretty high. It'd be a fun bet on the Vikings.
we either go Kyler or Nix, and then we grab a running back, and we could probably grab the running back first because the person on the term probably won't take either of our quarterbacks. But
Do you
even if
want to
they
go
take
Cam or
one,
do you
then
want
we
to go
could.
Mason?
I don't really have a strong lean between the two.
I'm gonna go Mason here because
Because we have
I guess
Jefferson.
I didn't fit it in. We're gonna go Cam here.
Oh, okay.
Scattaboo. Either way, I mean, we'll still, yeah, you're right. We'll still get the QB because the 12 spot or the 1 spot draft already has Burrow, and then he didn't have Marv either.
Yeah,
So
he
there's
didn't
no
have any
risk.
pieces.
He could take
And
Knicks, but at that case, like I'm already kind of leaning to go Murray anyways because we have
yeah,
McBride, Sutton bet,
I'm real big on Murray this year.
100%.
I,
I need to get more. Apparently, this is my exposure for the post NFL draft tournaments, and he was my number 1 QB at about 20% in the big board drafts. So I need to get more Murray. I guess because I have been fading Marvin Harrison a little bit and fading McBride a little bit. So then naturally I'm not taking Murray as much, but I need to kind of correct that before it gets too far along, too many drafts in.
yeah, and I mean that kind of makes sense if you're fading like those two because it is such a condensed offense where like Murray, you don't necessarily need a stack with him. He should run enough. But if you're fading those two pieces, you also don't really feel great with backstacking them because it's really only like Michael Wilson and he's probably not a guy who's hitting your lineup very often. He doesn't really have a ton of upside. You're just kind of
Yeah.
hoping like, oh, maybe he gets a touchdown or two one week that you need him.
It's a
Um,
pretty weak bet. I feel like any Murray Wilson backstack team is going to lose to all of the Murray, Marvin Harrison, or McBride teams. Like there's almost no doubt. So I would actually, I don't know. I guess I've definitely done it, but if I think about it logically, it's like you'd probably rather have one of the first two, like Marvin Harrison Jr. or McBride stacked with Murray, and then tack on the Michael Wilson versus just having Kyler with Michael Wilson. Because at that point, it's like, what do you really gain from a Kyler Michael Wilson? At least if you have the other piece, you're leveraging, maybe you're beating the other teams that also have that piece, but then Wilson happens to be the guy who hits in a playoff week like week 16 or something. So I don't know. It's kind of big braining it, but I'm starting to think that more and more about the late backstacks on QBs. it's like if you take just Dak Prescott without CeeDee Lamb or Pickens, like you're never going to beat these other Dak teams if you only have Ferguson or you only have like Tolbert or like Turpin. Like there's just no way you can think you'd win with that alone, I think.
Yeah, I think your bet was like if you were to do it with Murray, I think he runs enough, has enough rushing ability, kind of like Fields,
You might as well
where
go
like maybe
naked.
huh? Yeah, yeah, like you could just go full naked with it and hope he gets a big touchdown. But I agree that like if you're picking Murray for the most part, you want one of those top two pieces. That's your most likely bet to hit. It's the least thin option. And I agree too with like I think you said it earlier, but like not picking both because the volume probably won't be there for both to hit. And
Right.
I actually I prefer the McBride bet just because I think everything's there except the touchdowns, where
Yes,
he's getting the targets, he's getting the yardage. The touchdown should come. Where Marvin Harrison, you're kind of projecting the player to improve more,
that's
which
smart.
can work, but it's like a
Yeah.
little bit more risky.
And I
Um,
think that's obviously why McBride goes before Marv is like he's proven a little bit more so far. Yes, he's played more, like he's got more years experience and the kind of the difference between taking a tight end who is like a separator from the rest of the tight ends is a different bet than a wide receiver who's in like clearly in a second or third tier wide receivers. I guess we're already putting Marvin Harrison in that like second tier or maybe like that third tier. It depends on where your break is for wide receivers, but we're pricing him at like his not maybe his highest ceiling, but like pretty close to it.
yeah, I think close to a likely ceiling. I mean, it's very hard to see him surpassing like Lad McConkey, AJ Brown, Drake London type guys. With as much of like a target hog as Trey McBride is. Like obviously they're very condensed offense, but James Conner, they have a really good running game too. So
Totally.
it's just hard to see him really climbing up there unless he has like a very high like touchdown spike week. But with James Conner and Kyler Murray like rushing being such a threat in the red zone, it's hard to see the passing touchdowns being like ultra high for the Cardinals. Um yeah, yeah, I'm with you on the Marv thing. Like I'm still taking Marv, but I'm a little bit lower on him.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I think with the tight ends, it's like I have a good amount of Bowers and McBride, but I do think I think you're doing a little bit of projecting with them too. Like you got to kind of hope they're kind of like the tight ends of like maybe 5 years ago, where they're truly separating like the Gronks, the Grahams, the prime Kelseys. I think
Yeah,
McBride and Bowers have that ability within them. Um,
totally.
okay, so
I think for our next pick, I don't know if we need to reach up and grab a running back. I'm not really taking a
um,
lot of Javonte Williams.
yeah, I mean, I'd probably lean if we're going running back, Spears or Ramondre. I'm fine with either of them. We don't have any real QB options, right?
Not
No,
we could
we're
have to
waiting
pull
a
up
little,
we'd have to pull up
like
McCarthy, I
JJ, but
think.
that's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's not do that yet. We'd have to
And
hope that
then
he's still there.
what about tight end if we wanted to like stop at 2?
Definitely.
Um,
I mean, you
so
have like
we
an upside
could
play with
grab.
Warner and Joku. Otherwise, I'd probably just keep pushing it.
Yeah, I like Tajay here. Give us a little bit more stability in that running back room, especially starting with the 2 rookies. We don't want to fully punt off the last couple pieces of it.
I personally have Javante and Blue kind of ranked behind where they're going, and so in this range, it's like Spears or Ray Davis. I'd be cool pulling either one. It's a little bit far to bring up Ray Davis. Spears, I don't think it's crazy. Although Pollard does hold down that backfield pretty well. I'm
Yeah,
open to getting Spears with what he's shown for his spike weeks and his contingent upside value. We're a little bit. I wouldn't say we're like super far behind at running back because we've got the rookie upside on like a Quinshawn and Cam Scatabo, but it just felt like we needed to get one there because there was no logical tight end or QB that fit, and then the wide receivers. I don't know. No one that I'm crazy about in this range. I feel like this range is already flattened out.
Yeah, especially at receiver, I really didn't see anyone, like, worth grabbing right there without having, like, correlation on them or something. I actually really like the Ramondre pick for, like, how we built it, where,
Yeah.
he's probably a guy who will fall to the rookie eventually, but since we have 2 rookies as our main 2, then, Chris Reed out of the pot of the playoffs. Draft Turpin. Turpin time. Uh, but oh, there you go. There you go. The ballsy.
That's
Ballsy
true.
head to head, huh?
We have the Monday night show with Bendles on his channel, and then Wednesday we'll be squaring off on the Fanspeak Network channel for week 3 of Jeopardy. It's been really fun. I enjoyed watching Who Hames and Sean this week, and then the first one with the comeback that Cody had over BBG was pretty epic. So it's been a great series, and I'm excited to do it on Wednesday for sure.
And hopefully you've been like scouting it where you know how to handle the double jeopardy if you're in the spot.
You know what? It seems like I don't think anyone's ever won the bet, like where it's like, do you want how much you want to bet, how much you want to wager. I think BBG lost like a huge amount, and then I think
Yeah.
Williams lost 1,000 on it, if I remember correctly. So like the takeaway is just don't wager anything if you have the lead. Only wager if you need to come back from behind. I think I don't watch a ton of like Jeopardy, so I don't know the strategy there, but also I feel like, oh yeah, I've got 2 weeks now where I've seen all of the questions, and there's some really tough questions, but then there's some things that I think I would like be able to snap answer. So I'm feeling pretty good of the just drafting and being in the streets has prepared me for what Bruni's cooking up.
Oh yeah, I think with a lot of the questions, just like being in the streets, like drafting as much as like you do, it'll be a lot of them will come to you pretty quick.
What up, Tyler? Yeah, you know what, Fantasy
Easy.
Dog? This was my biggest takeaway was knowing the bye weeks, and I think Hartman can challenge me. Maybe we can do like some like name a team, name a bye week. I think I've been getting better about the bye weeks because I've been doing and shout out to I've been doing fast draft Fridays. So I've been doing fast drafts, and you only draft 6 players in the flex 4, and you only draft 6 players in the Origins tournament, which is rookie only. So because you start 4 in your lineup, you only get 6. If you were to draft 3 players with a week 8 bye, your lineup is dead because you're going to have a week 8, where you're starting 3 players in your lineup, and people who are going to win the tournament are going to start 4. And so kind of something I've taken from fantasy golf, like best ball, from like the scramble and doing all those tournaments that I'm in right now is, damn, and there goes JJ McCarthy, is that you have to like stack up your weeks of a, like in golf, not every player plays every tournament. So you have to stack up the tournaments. So you're alternating that you'd have the maximum number of players entering each week. And it's kind of like that when you have like a limited roster size. So all of that to say, I think I'm getting pretty close on the bye weeks, but I still catch myself having to look at a cheat sheet when it comes down to it, just because I think like if you drafted 4 out of 6 of your players with a week 8 bye, you're pretty much drawing dead in that tournament. So JJ's gone. Caleb Williams is there. It's like 40 picks past ADP. Did you just grab Caleb Williams snap pick, right?
Caleb Williams went the round before.
Did he really?
Yeah.
What am I looking at? My phone didn't update or something, or maybe I accidentally got into the wrong. I'm looking at my phone and the board, so I got confused there.
So we could do either like a young back stack. Oh, we could do Cam Ward.
Here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Do
fine with Ward. I like Ward.
I guess you know what happened is I had it on my phone, and then I don't know if it just like desynced or what went on there, but at least with Ward, we already had Spears, and I think it's
Right.
pretty easy to get another piece. I think Young is probably a good way to play it too.
Yeah, I think Young and Ward, like you can backstack them both pretty easily. Maybe you're not getting the top piece, but you can get a piece who could have a pretty good role.
Would you want to grab
So
Young here or try to push it around? I think it's just there's not many other bets we could make unless we went Anthony Richardson late, which might be fine to
so
do, and
do
maybe we don't need to take Young here. Would you want to go White instead of him, or
I mean, I really like Rashad White. I have a lot of
me
Rashad
too?
White, so
I think for our build too, it makes sense to get one more running back who, man, you hate to see the coach speak that has been coming out lately where obviously they're really high on Bucky, and they're going to keep riding that like train forward with him. I think Rachaad
Mhm.
White's just good enough in the passing game, and Bucky, it's the only piece of his game he's missing is, at least what we've seen so far, is that he's not as prolific, as a receiving back, like compared to Rachaad White. Also, Rachaad White's way bigger, faster, and so he's like a different complement. And I don't think they're going to just stop using Rachaad White, although they kind of phased him out towards the end of last season. But I don't think they're just going to like stop using him completely. And it's a good offense, right? We already got Godwin too.
Yeah, I think that could be a risk with White, like, near the end where maybe they phase him out a little bit more. But I think with Bucky's kinda, like, smaller stature, size, and Rachaad White's receiving ability, see who aims? I
Yeah,
think
see you
they'll,
then. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great weekend, man. Catch you in another one real soon.
but yeah, I think they'll still use Rachaad White a good amount just in that pass catching role,
Yeah.
especially early in the season. Maybe later, like if they're really trying to make a playoff push, he's getting a little bit less work. But that's why we have the young guys that'll kind of carry us later. So I think White's a real good, like, like to use that new term, chaperone, right? Like
Yeah.
kind of for our running back room. I think he could do real good at that. And then I think at QB, I was kind of wondering, do you think with these two, would you want to stop at 2 with that?
I know.
Or do you
I just kind of came to that conclusion too, and I'm glad we didn't pick uh Bryce Young because we could. And then also, let's just take one quick look at our roster again to get refamiliar because it's been so long since we took a wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm
We're-
forgetting a little bit, like, some
I
of our
know
guys,
it's
yeah.
tough when you can't see it. I'm kind of cheating because I have it on my phone and up here. Although somehow my phone got completely off. I thought my phone must have done something wrong because it showed that Caleb was still there, and like I knew he wasn't, but my phone was showing it, and I was like, "How is he 40 picks past ADP?" Like we have to figure out how to backstack that some way. But yeah, he'd been gone for a while, so let's look at this squad. We have a 2-5-5-1 build. We started off, of course, with Justin Jefferson. We didn't get JJ McCarthy, which always kind of sucks when you get Justin Jefferson and you don't get McCarthy. It feels like you're kind of missing out, but overall, I think it's fine. We also tacked on Rashee Rice in the third round, McBride in the second. Our running backs were doing kind of more of a late. I guess you could call this zero RB, but we didn't like go full zero RB and push it because we took Quinshawn, but it's pretty close. And I like a lot of these names that we've got too. So I think it's working out with those rookies. For our pass catchers, Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton, Chris Godwin, and then of course Trey McBride. So we've got 5 really good receivers, a great tight end. Maybe we do 2 tight end, maybe we do 2 quarterback, and then this is kind of one of those rare ones where you don't need too many more wide receivers either. So we'll just kind of see what comes up and what's available for us. I don't know how many other QBs we would be interested in based on our receivers that we've got, because we're going to be thinking of like who are the wide receivers that would go late that would kind of fit in. And there's no other kind of like making these guys into a bring back. There's not like any of those connections left either.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. We don't really have much as far as, like, bringbacks.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, some of those late QBs, like, you can do a little bit with them with the stacks, like, we could do, like, an Indy because Indy plays Seattle, correct? That
Um, Indy plays the Jaguars, and
Oh,
then
right, right.
Seattle. I always forget this one too. Seattle's no, the Titans is the Saints. Oh, okay, I know this one. Seattle's Carolina.
Seattle's Carolina, that's right, that's
Yeah,
right, okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say, so with I mean, we could do, like, an Indy Jaguars thing then, get, like, a De'Ami Brown, Parker Washington, something like that if we really wanted to.
that's true.
Um, but I don't think we have to do that. Uh, I think we kinda see how this turn goes maybe, and then maybe if, like, A-Rich falls back to us, maybe we can look at something like that with our last couple picks.
Fryermuth would be right at ADP, and let me think about that.
We could do Gesicki for our Arizona, because he would
That
be
makes
like a
a
week
ton of sense,
17.
actually, and I was thinking about that. I'm glad you mentioned it. But also the
Yeah.
guy in the one spot, and
Oh,
there goes Gesicki. So we called it too early. It's unfortunate, but kind of how it goes. The guy in the one spot already has two tight ends. Are there any receivers here that you're crazy about that you'd want?
um,
Wilson's
I would
coming up.
probably I would be
Bryant.
okay with Tillman or Wilson probably. Those would be my 2 at receiver.
I think it's a pretty good
Either one
value
of
on
those.
Tillman. I don't take a ton of them, but we have Quinshawn too, so it's another Browns player. And then Dowdle or Johnson, in my mind, I could take either one of those with the next pick too. It was interesting that Roschon had so many touchdowns last season on such limited carries and touches, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't see him overtaking Swift, so it's kind of a pure contingent play. Dowdle could eat into Hubbard a little bit, but I think what I'm more confident there is that it's just a good offensive line in a rising offense situation. Michael Wilson goes, which
Um,
kind of sucks. But like I said earlier, we didn't really need him. We could wide
so
receiver wise.
I would lean Roshan or Fryermuth here because
Yeah,
we with Fryermuth, like I think he's kind of the last of a tier of tight end. And then we can kind of be done like that. That's still good enough where we can kind of stop at tight end with him. And then since we've done kind of that bigger Cleveland bet, that gives us kind of that week 17 like mini game stack
that's a
with
great point
Tillman
on
and
that
Quinshawn.
too. Because I was just thinking, it's like what you said about the tier of the cutoff of Fryermuth. We got a mini with the Cleveland bring back. I think that makes a ton of sense. And then as of now, he's probably the second highest targeted pass catcher in that offense that I can think of. So it's a great value pick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think after him, like Mason Taylor could be comparable at tight end, but that is risky. You just never know with a rookie tight end, especially like a non-first rounder. Um, okay, yeah, for the
Just
Arizona bring
queuing
back.
some up for our main a bring back of our main stack. I don't actually like Yoshivas that much. It's undeniable. I mean, 10 touchdowns across 2 seasons, across 51 receptions. So he is kind of a touchdown merchant, and I think it's much more of a function of he's getting snaps and Burrow is prolific. So I don't know that it's a talent thing. I think he's good enough and he's just there, but I also don't see anyone taking his job the way they drafted, in the NFL draft, the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only real threat to him would be just if Jermaine Burton kind of puts it together some. But I mean, with how he was
Yeah.
acting last year,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem very likely.
It really
Um,
doesn't. And it's like I'm pretty quick to be out on players that have any kind of character or maturity or off the field concerns, because that's something that's like just being a professional in the NFL is probably such a high bar that if you're not already there, that like you're never going to figure it out.
Right, right. Yeah, it's pretty rare, especially with like as bad as his issues were. That
I guess what I was hearing. Yeah, I guess so. Right. He was like sleeping in, missing flights and stuff. Wasn't that what he was doing?
yeah, well, I think the big thing was they told him he was gonna be a big part of the game plan the next week, and then he was out gambling at the casino like the night before until 2 a.m. or something.
Not a good look.
I think that was the one where they benched him where he got like fully taken out of the game plan. Um So there is one guy, if he makes it, I'll send it to you in the private chat. Uh, that I like is kind of like a correlation piece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we should aim for, yeah, I think we should aim for Lockett, Io Manor would either one of those would be good picks. Um,
It's tough with Lockett. I mean, he's like going to be what, like 32. He's just been dropping off consistently since 2022, and then just 2023 was not terrible. I mean, good enough. Last year is just, I don't, was that injury related? What was it? Was he missing games? What was it last year?
uh, I mean, I think it was more just getting phased out for JSN. I
Yeah.
think he did miss a little bit of time. Um, but I think it was really just JSN taking over that role. That was more like his bigger issue. So it looks like at his game log, he didn't miss a single game. Lockett, that is. So that
Yeah,
was
that's why I'm worried is he's
17
just
weeks of Lockett.
dusty. Yeah, it's pretty
Then
bad.
kinda
So I
take
would,
the upside on AO
I
Manor,
guess
or
so.
we could even look at, like, Restrepo in the very last round if we really get locked out at Tennessee. I mean, I know
Yeah,
he's
we're
not
almost
the
there, right?
best
Because
guy
we still
or
have 3 picks left, but we're getting close to. I mean, I would take a stab on Restrepo at the last pick just because our wide receiver is already so strong. We're really just looking for someone that can connect with our QB to help our stack.
right, right. I think we'd be good, like so are you thinking 2-7-7-2 here? Is that
Kind
kinda
of
what you're
leaning that
leaning?
way just naturally, but we'll see how it goes because I don't know how many more wide receivers we really need once we hit the stack with Cam Ward. And
Mhm.
we don't have to take another tight end because we went elite. I don't think it hurts if we think, okay, Jawan Johnson or Okonkwo just makes the most sense with our very last pick and they're there. Otherwise, I think at least one more running back, just kind of the way I'm seeing it, probably go 6. Just give us a little bit more depth, right?
Right, right. Yeah, I think that could be a good call if either one's there. I think the correlation can kinda make us lean towards the 3rd tight end, if one of them's there. But if not, I think the 7th running back could be good. Uh, so yeah, that's what I'm yeah, how you have it's what I'm leaning right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking we'd put tight ends in the back of the queue. We probably don't touch Shuck. I don't even know if he starts over Rattler, so it's kind of a bad pick. Neil goes again, so I don't know if Brandonable is in here, but he sniped us like 2 or 3 times already. Um, what do you
Um,
feel about securing the AO Manor stack?
yeah,
Obviously, we have 2 picks here, so who do you think is the worth taking first?
I think lock up AO Manor, get our
I did too.
stack. Yeah. Yeah, that way we at least have a stacked receiver. Um, and then with the next pick, I mean, we could even grab, like, Dobbins if we wanna just get, like,
Oh, I didn't
best
see him
player
there.
available, but I mean, I'm okay with going, like, Taj Brooks also. I like Taj Brooks where he goes. Um, yeah, I mean,
I guess
I
I
think
was pulling
Dobbins
up
are better.
Brooks just because of it's just
Correlation with
correlated with the Murray,
Arizona.
but the Dobbins pick is a good value, and he's probably just a better overall pick, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, I think so here.
I think
He's
we do
probably a better
Dobbins
bet.
on this one. I think we do Dobbins. He's already proven he's an NFL talent. He finally had the bounce back year with the Chargers. When he's healthy, he's pretty good. And it takes a lot. I mean, I like Brooks. It takes a lot to hit an NFL, especially when you have very little draft capital. I guess what was he, his 6th or 7th round? I can't remember exactly, but it's we don't have to force it for the bring back just because he's on the Bengals. When I think whenever Dobbins lands somewhere, he's gonna move up the board a little bit, and we know that he's probably going to produce some weeks that we can use. I just don't think Dobbins is going to be a free agent much longer. It's starting to sound like the Bears might be interested, is what I think a Bears beat writer was talking about, and I just don't know if he was wish casting or if that was like legit.
Yeah, and I really think with Dobbins, like, signing that tender, I mean, that shows that the Chargers clearly think that he's gonna sign somewhere. Uh, I think it's a pretty good signal for him that they signed him to that tender. That's a good amount of money to sign someone to, especially at the running back position, 3.5 million guaranteed. That's a good amount of capital.
No doubt. Um, and one more thing I could think of is we've made a strong bet on our first 2 rookie picks. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there's any reason we wouldn't get one more rookie with Taj Brooks, but I'm comfortable with the guys we had here, and then getting some more veteran talent. Just kind of it feels like a better balance. Sometimes I wonder if you can just overdraft rookies on one team and you start to dilute your bet because the odds that all of the rookies are going to hit is like a big parlay versus if you just pick 1 or 2 or 3 per positional group, then it's like it's not as crazy to pull off. It's a lot of like conditional With Judkins, we think he's got a huge workload. He should hit immediately. Scattaboo, even though he went in the fourth round, it seems like he's already kind of a locker room guy, and as long as they give him the work, and especially if they give it to him later in the season, or maybe he just earns the role. But with like a Taj Brooks, there's kind of a longer way to go for him to even get touches. We'll just have to see. I'm definitely in on Taj Brooks, but we don't have to force that pick, I guess is what I'm getting at. And maybe he's still there. Maybe he's still there, and it's the logical 2-7-7-2 build. Otherwise, I don't know.
I think I would slightly lean Chig just because that
There
gives
Chig
us
goes.
oh, all right.
Every time we're starting to
Oh,
talk about a player, they get drafted. We gotta stop talking about all these players.
yeah, yeah. But I do think Taj Brooks can be a decent bet since we did get some of the vets. Obviously you're kind of more hoping he overtakes Zach Moss, but being the backup on an offense that good, that can be a pretty good role. And then obviously for running backs, you're always just hoping like contingent upside if someone were to get injured, something like that. So
Yeah,
I don't hate that bet at all. Uh was
there goes Brooks.
and I think okay, there goes Brooks. Uh so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you really have a strong lean here between like Juwan or Brashard Smith? Or like
I think Jawan is good enough. We don't have to take a third tight end.
mhm.
I have no strong feelings for Brashad Smith. Like I'm not like crazy about him, but we do have Rashi Rice and Cortland Sutton. Maybe one more piece of that game. Who knows?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, I like that idea.
Just because we don't really
And
need
then
the tight end, and we don't have to force another bring back with Juwan Johnson just because we didn't get Devin Neal.
and I kind of wanted to circle back to like you were saying earlier with the like so many rookie bets and stuff. I think
Yeah,
we built like a really good balance of that with this room, especially having like Ramondre and Rashad White, who are guys that'll have a
true.
role earlier. They should have a role early, and they might get more phased out. I think those
Yeah,
guys are really good balances with our Quinchon Camp Scadaboo top two running backs. Um,
that's funny. I love your profile pic on that account. You got the doggo in there. It's great.
oh yeah, yeah.
Crossface, what up, my man? How we doing tonight, Mister James Young, the renowned sentry in here? How you doing? Darnold was Jetter. Yeah, the Darnold. It's like, man, I don't. I'm cautiously not optimistic about the Seahawks. Just the direction they're moving. Yes, they got the new OC, but they're changing a lot. QB change to Darnold. We haven't seen Darnold without Kevin O'Connell be much of anything. I don't know. I guess he was all right for a little while on the Panthers, but it didn't last very long. At least good for fantasy.
Yeah,
We ended up on this one with a 2-7-7-2. Hartman, I want you to give us a little quick rundown, and then I'll load into another. Are you? How? I mean, we could jump into a puppy this time. Maybe that'll be easier to fill. I'm gonna jump into a 30-second puppy and see how long it takes to fill that, and I'll let you give us a rundown on this team.
okay, cool. All right. So at QB, we got Kyler Murray, Cam Ward. Pretty comfortable stopping at 2 with that QB room. Arguably you could take a later third, maybe if we got Bryce Young back or something, but I think with those two, we're pretty good stopping there. Kyler should give us good rushing floor. Cam Ward, I think he's a little undervalued where he goes. Just being like as high of a pick as he was, Tennessee might not be too terrible of an offense.
Yeah,
Um, and then okay, yeah, running back, we got Quinshon Judkins, Cam Scattaboo, Ramondre Stevenson, Tajay Spears, Rashad White, J.K. Dobbins, Brashard Smith. So kind of like we were talking about, I think you got Judkins and Scattaboo who you're really hoping can take over the backfield, and then maybe until they do, or Judkins should pretty quickly, but even if he starts a little slow, we got Ramondre and Rashad White who should be have good roles early in the season, maybe even maintained a little bit later. Tyjae's a really good contingent bet who should get some work. He's explosive. Uh, we got Dobbins, just kind of hoping he signs somewhere.
yeah.
And then Brashard Smith, good upside bet. Maybe he gets that McKinnon role, get some receiving touchdowns.
It sucks
And
that
then
we
at
didn't get
receiver,
McCarthy. I always hate getting a Justin Jefferson team without McCarthy. It just feels like you don't have to have him, but I mean, make a lot of sense, right?
yeah, that would have been nice. We weren't in a great spot to get him was like the only thing.
I know.
The quarterbacks really didn't work out too great for us other than Kyler. It would have been nice to get him or like a Bo Nix or Baker, something like that. It just didn't work out with how the board fell for us. But I mean, I think at receiver, that's our biggest strength. We got Jefferson, Rashi Rice, Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton, Chris Godwin, Cedric Tillman, Alec Iomanner stacked up with Cam Ward. And then we
Mhm.
got McBride and Pat Fryermuth. McBride stacked up with Kyler. I think at receiver and tight end, we can really compete with like any team in the pod. And then we just need one of our rookie running backs to kind of hit. And I
Yeah.
think this team could be very competitive. Our receivers are huge strengths. Our first five are
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So I think, and then Tillman, Io Manor maybe just a little bit more for the stack, but he's a rookie, kind of mystery box.
It's kind of
And
fun with
then
this with the
Tillman,
guys
he's
that he's
shown
around, right? He's our only rookie wide receiver. It's kind of fun, and he's talented. He had a pretty young breakout age. Stanford. We'll see.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I like this team overall. I think we could have got a little bit luckier with the quarterbacks, but I think
Maybe
how we
even the
built
running
it, how we
backs too,
finished it, we
because
got good archetypes.
I think we built out the running back room well, but we could have had maybe even some more luck there. The 30-second puppy has started. We got a bunch of the bros in the chat who are in this. I'm going to flip over to that board. We're up in 6 picks, so we're going to be picking from the 7th spot pretty quickly. But who was the Hartman? Who was the second running back we took in this one?
Cam Scadaboo.
Who was that again?
Cam Scadaboo.
Had to do it to him. You knew it was coming.
Yeah, no,
I
love that clip.
appreciate it. We got K Mize in here. What up? How you doing tonight, dog? We got Fantasy Dog, the real dog. Triot's in here. The Sentry, aka we got Mr. James Young. Steve's made it in, and then the world famous Huron River Rat, Jason Calhoun. Is it obviously just Puka and we roll with it?
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool with just grabbing Pookie here. I think that's the move.
At different parts of this summer, I've been more in or more out. Oh, little glitch there on Puka, but I'm definitely all the way back in, and I don't want to miss out on Puka exposure. So I'll take him any tournament I can get him at where he usually goes at ADP. Like I'm in.
Yeah, I feel pretty similar. I do mix it up a little. Like I really like Neighbors or Nico, but I think with Puka not really falling and those other guys kind of getting more mixed up, I do the same thing. Just kind of take Puka when he's there. I think that's better, or else he'll kind of end up being underexposed.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think the other guys, they kind of like I noticed Neighbors, Nico, and Monra. It seems like they kind of flip around with each other a little bit depending on the room. Where Puka generally seems to go before those guys.
That is true. I think we're seeing Puka approach the I call the first 3 receivers like the first tier, and then I think of Puka all the way through really McConkey as like my tier 2, and where there's like another logical break before you go into like Josh Jacobs and Bucky, JT. But man, is Puka really able to differentiate, and he's more like the first 3 than like the next 3? I don't know. I mean, I love the back end of the drafts this year because of all the extremely good wide receiver talent you can get into. It's going to be, we're going to look back in like whatever, 8 months or however long it takes, and it's going to be so confusing figuring out like why one of these receivers didn't end up working out. Like I can't imagine who it's going to be. Is it going to be Neighbors because of his QB situation changing? Is, everyone else has a pretty stable situation. So and if I galaxy brain it, Neighbors is the only one that I can see potentially succumbing to like a situational down year, all injuries aside, right?
I just have a hard time even seeing that with Neighbors, just given
He's
like
quarterback
the
proof,
QB
right?
situation last year.
Yeah,
I mean, how
he
could
was.
it be worse?
How
You
could
know?
it be worse? So it's hard for me to figure out who's the bad value. We got Puka. We didn't have a chance to get London. I'm either Achan or McConkey or even Bucky with this pick. What are you feeling?
Um, I mean, I'm huge on Lad. I'm cool with Lad or A Chain though. Either one of those is fine with me. I
Let's go.
probably wouldn't go Bucky.
Yeah, let's go, Lad. I like Chain a lot too. Could he have his first 1,000-yard rushing season? Yeah. Look at what he did with the 78 receptions last year. Apparently, they're just kind of having, some issues on offense. Their offensive line was bad. Is kind of what I'm hearing are the excuses for what happened with the Dolphins. And you always have the what if Tua, gets injured again kind of thing. So I feel like the Achane situation is more, I don't know, it's kind of a little bit more fragile than Lad's situation.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was thinking of saying is like the Dolphins' whole situation just seems so much more fragile where
Yeah,
Lad like obviously they bring in Trey Harris, they bring in like a new running back. So maybe they lean a little bit more into the run game, but
sure.
that should just increase
Two
their
new running backs.
efficiency.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, with Najee too, Najee and
no doubt.
Omarion. But it should just increase their overall scoring potential. And he's clearly going to be the target dominant player on the Chargers. And they should be a very good offense, pretty good defense. I'm gonna do some weird stuff in the puppy.
And then, yeah, he's sandwiched between me, who's, of course, an expert drafter. You all know it. And then, no, but Steve, the real expert. So we'll see. This is a very sharp room, but it's a puppy. I love getting in and doing a puppy where we can all just like, we're all trying to get our stacks. We're all trying to get our guys. There's probably some people in here who are just going to get like, I mean, there's most of us are in here, and even the ones of us who I don't know for a fact, like I don't know if Kay Perry is chilling with us tonight or Clutch, but they're at least badged up with some, some other accessories. So just in general, like you never know what you're going to get, regardless of what the person's kind of profile pick and underdog or whatever you call these things. Like how it doesn't really matter like to the end of it, but I just feel like sometimes you get into a room for a puppy or a schnauzer, and then you see someone who just maybe isn't in the best ball community in any way, and they're doing something that's like very redrafty or just like drafting every player that comes up on ESPN, like Patrick Mahomes, like a round or two early and just like unstacked, like that kind of thing, But other times it's the opposite. You get just best ball grinders and the bros and a puppy, and then it's some of the sharpest stuff you can get into, right?
Oh yeah, and I feel like with the puppies, like you don't really feel as like tense. Maybe if like your build doesn't totally work out or something, like if you're doing a BBM. And I know, Kriath at 6. I know he's in the chat too. And I see him in a lot of chats. So
For
even
sure.
though not badged up, I'm sure he's a sharp drafter. Like
Yeah, he's
not
in
like a
these streets.
redraft pro
I
or
see him around
something.
for sure. Uh Kriath or Triath, tell me in the chat, is it Cha like Chris, like Triath, or is it like TR sound like tree? Because I've been saying Triath, but like I don't know for sure, but I'd love to know. I always see you in here, my man. And then what up, Vape? How you doing tonight? What's going on, DJs? Blue had a question. I want to get to this and appreciate you coming by and asking it. We got a lot of sharp people in this room. If they haven't already figured it out, I'm sure we can help you. Dynasty question: should I trade away Jefferson and Dak for Lamar? Me personally, in Superflex, oh man, that's actually pretty tough because I think Lamar is one of the best assets in Superflex. Um, let's see what you guys think in the chat. Would you guys do this? At the end of the day, I want the best player in the trade, and that's probably Lamar. But Jefferson is really hard to give up too. It's like Jefferson, I think of as like almost untradeable, but then Lamar is like the ultimate trying to get guy. I don't know. What do you guys think? Oh, Anthony, this is a 30-second puppy that we got into, and just woke up. How you doing, my man? Hope you're having a great Friday. Hartman, let's dive into this one. We got Puka and McConkey. Do we grab the Chase Brown? Do we skip out and get Marvin Harrison or JSN? We could go Kyron and really bet on the Rams, which I've done before, but it seems kind of crazy.
I mean, I like grabbing Chase Brown here, I think.
Okay.
Marvin Harrison fall would be okay too. Uh
You want to do it? I
um
think I'm gonna
sure.
if I caught it in time, I just had to realize it for a second there. Marvin Harrison at 31. It's only 5 picks, but this early in the draft, 5 picks is worth a lot.
Yeah, it's always good, like, especially I think the first 3 rounds, the ADP usually stays like pretty it usually stays pretty in line where it feels like if you get a fall, even a couple of picks, you're actually getting a pretty good value, maybe getting some like uniqueness.
Yeah. What up, Ben? How you doing tonight, my man? Hope you're having a good Friday, getting some drafts in. Like I said, we are in a 30-second puppy, and we're ripping them. We're getting along. Got pretty much everyone in the chats in this one. I think we've got, if I've counted it, it's like 8, 9 of us. We pretty much filled this whole room, which was sweet. And we're just getting into it. We got the main man Hartman here. He's touting his $7,400 price tag. So yeah, I'll keep you in mind when I'm selecting my players. I haven't figured out if I'm going to randomly select yet, and then just insert myself, and then randomly select 5, or if I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But I'm probably going to pick it a little bit later. I think it'll be fun. I started to follow more of the bros who are in it on Twitter, and then I'm just seeing kind of the things they're posting and their teams. And so not like I'm doing like market research, but I think it's just kind of a fun thing that brings us more together and connects the best ball community even more. So that's kind of a fun part of it. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I think it's just kind of a fun thing, you know, it's pretty cool. Like I've seen some people they're making like threads now where they're posting all 150 BBM so you can see the portfolio. You know, you can see what you're paying
Crazy.
for the price tag or just a lot of fun stuff on Twitter, fun. I don't know, yeah, just something fun to talk about with all of it.
Ooh, the Dak bench for Milton K Mize. That is a very. I feel like Cowboys fans are so every Cowboys fan I know, and I know a few because I'm in Texas and I'm in Houston, but like there's a lot of Cowboys fans in general that I know, and I have some in my friend group, my redraft league. They're so out on Dak. It's like crazy. And from my perspective of having like the Texans QB for all these years before Stroud, and maybe even before Watson too, it's like you got to latch on to those good QBs when you can. Do we grab Daniels here, or is this not the team for him?
Uh I mean, we definitely can grab Daniels. I'm not too much of a fan of Worthy, but I'm okay with it with him falling a little. I'd probably go Daniels or Hunter.
Yeah, I thought about
Daniels,
taking
I
Hunter at
like
the
him
last
there.
second. I let Daniels hit. I think I just like having Daniels teams, and even though we don't have McLaurin, I think he's still just a strong pick, and we can figure some things out with him.
Well, he certainly rushes enough. I mean, you don't even need to stack him, but
Right,
even if you don't get Debo, it's really easy to get like Eckler, Ertz later, something like that. Where
right.
those guys are a decent part of their passing game in Washington, so it still feels like a decent stack with those guys. Even not spending big capital to get a stack with them.
Yeah, Blue, you've got some pretty nice receivers. Although, I mean, Jefferson with Diggs and Godwin, they're going to be gone before you know it. Collins and Zay and JMO will hold it down for you. So I kind of like that core, though. If I just think of it, having Jefferson, Nico, Zay, and JMO, like you're going to be good at receiver for a long time. And then maybe you just keep drafting rookie QBs kind of into the future. Um, yeah, so like Steve is saying, and I would definitely trust his opinion. You got Dak for a few more good years, and then you're keeping Jefferson. It's tough though. Yeah, I might want to do it in Superflex as vape. It is tough. Yeah, I think Dak still just has like a. It's yeah. So I'll let you in on a. I'll tell you all about a dynasty trade that I just turned down that I had Bindles help me out with. After we get through this one, yeah, it's a tough one. 10-man league. Oh, 10-man league. Oh, if it was. Okay, yeah. But it's 12, so the depth matters more. I agree with that. And you have Purdy, so you have good QBs. So if you had a really bad QB room and Dak was your only good QB, then I could potentially see doing it just to dig yourself out of a QB hole. But yeah, I think that's interesting. That's a good trade question. Appreciate you asking that one. Um
I I think I'm with you on that one. I think I would keep Dak and JJ given his players. Just
Yeah.
because like those receivers give him a chance to be like ultra competitive at receiver for multiple years. And I agree with Steve too with the I think Dak, he'll still be top 10 for a couple years. It's really just injury concerns. I think a lot of people are kind of fudding him because he got hurt last year, but he can put up points like
Roller
almost any
coaster.
other QB. Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
his wide receiver room never been better.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he's never had a wide
Prime
receiver 2
CD
like
and then
Pickens.
Pickens, who's not even in his prime yet.
Right, right. Yeah,
Maybe you
I'm,
could
like,
argue the
high on
Amari
Dak
Cooper
this
years were
year.
pretty good, I guess, but that was early on with Dak, wasn't it? I know he's been there for a while, but
Well, and that's earlier in CD's career too. I don't think CD was quite the level of player he is now, right? Like,
yeah, that would
I
have been like
mean, I guess comparable, but that would
yeah.
probably been right like end of Amari. So maybe like 1 year he kinda got it. But Dak's put up some great years at QB. So,
Oh, yeah. I have, so in my oldest dynasty league, I have Dak as was my first QB I drafted in that league, and I still have him on the roster. Um, and my second QB I had was Stafford. He was originally a Lion when I drafted this team, and he's now obviously on the Rams. We'll make our pick, and I'll kind of continue this story. But someone offered me CJ Stroud for Stafford and 2 future firsts. We'll make this pick, and then I'll kind of walk us through like how that dynasty trade didn't end up working out. But we can't take Hurts. I like
right.
Metcalf. I like Kamara. I like Ridley. ADP wise, it's kind of the same guys. How do you feel
Um,
about these with our
could you
room?
scroll down just a little bit?
Yep.
I think we could go DK here and then
Yeah,
get a running back on the way back. Yeah.
I
I
think
think
so
that's a
too.
good way to play it.
The running backs are kind of bunching up. We don't have to take Kamara ahead of ADP. He falls sometimes anyways.
Right,
Like he
right.
easily falls to 66, so we can get him there. And then DK, it's a great pick, I think. It makes a lot of sense. Really strong wide receivers. We kind of did it again, although this time instead of elite tight end, we went elite QB. So I'll wrap up my story. One of the guys in my older dynasty leagues offered me Stroud in a third for 2 of my future first, and I'm projecting to be in the playoffs. I'm hoping for the next year and the next year have a pretty good squad. I'm always like a borderline playoff and definitely a win now, always a win now kind of team. So I turned it down. I was consulting with Bindles. So I had some nice help on this one, but yeah, I said he's not to leverage your future when Dak is I've got Dak on my squad and I've got Stafford, and for the next year or two, Dak and Stafford could just outright outscore Stroud in any given season. So it's not like getting younger is going to like solve all my problems if I'm just trying to win. And then in 2 years, those first could just also turn into QBs that are replacement level or who knows. So the whole takeaway was like, don't leverage the future. Stroud's not necessarily worth it because he doesn't have the ultimate ceiling that you would want to get for giving away 2 first kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I totally agree with that because to give away 2 firsts for a QB who doesn't really have that mobile upside, um, I was looking at the other
Maybe try to get Milton. That's pretty interesting. Dak sleeps well because he's got a sleep number bed. That is true. And if you live in Texas or if you've ever been in the Dallas area, you will see a lot of Dak Prescott ads. Sleep number is one of his bigger ads. So it's pretty funny and true. Look at that. Kamara's still there. Let's see
Oh,
what
yeah.
our next pick could be. I mean, I think Travion, James Conner makes a lot of sense. We did take Marvin Harrison, and we've got I'm not surprised Kamara goes. Who do you feel
Mhm.
stronger about as your RB1 in this build? Would it be Henderson or Connor?
Uh, I'd probably lean Connor as the
Or do we
RB1.
go Debo here and get our stack?
Oh,
Or do you think it's not worth it?
I I mean, stacked, it probably is worth it.
It's probably worth it,
It's
right? Just go ahead and do it.
yeah,
Plus, I
yeah.
know it'll piss off PPR Tyler, and it seems like he's trying to talk smack in the chat. So we'll just take his favorite player. We'll call it
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
our PPR pick right there for Debo.
honestly, Debo, he's just, like, one of the best values on the board, just an amazing player overall. Um, you know, he's taken over that Washington receiver room.
PPR Tower, I have to catch the end of the Trifle Tower stream to see exactly what kind of mood you're in right now. But let me calm you down a bit with some nice, calming, nice little kitten shirt to calm you down, give you something nice to look at.
I mean, all I really
Vibe.
gotta say to that is, Thunder and 4. SGA is gonna carry the boats.
Oh, oh no! Wait, Hartman, I don't know this. Whereabouts are you? Are you pulling for the Thunder?
No, I'd rather not say with Tyler here. No, I'm in the Bay Area, so I'm a Warriors
Okay.
fan.
I think I caught that in a previous stream in the chat, but it's just hard to keep track of everyone's whereabouts. But yeah, Bay Area, very nice, very nice. Love going out there when I can. I've got a bunch of family from out there. My mom's from out there, and a lot of our family still lives out. Not all in the Bay Area, but because people kind of spread out. Like got some, but just we always fly into San Jose when we visit, and man, it's fun to visit out there. So nice, good part of the country to live in, and you get access to Underdog as well. So you don't have to do what other guys in the chat have to do, drive to Oregon or something crazy to get your drafts in, like Reflect the Sun and some of the other guys in here.
Oh yeah, yeah. I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that. I don't know if I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could handle that doing like the 150 slows all at once.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
In San Fran, yeah. Wait, Trieth, I never saw
I'm
your
from
response, and
Michigan.
maybe you didn't hear. And also, I love your cowboy riding the fish. Is it Trioth or is it Creoth? Because I think it's Trioth, but let me know because I'd like to know. I've been meaning to ask you on that one, and I probably missed it if you already answered. Okay, on this next pick, we still haven't taken a running back. We're getting close to a true zero RB build. This is we're getting close. Maybe we just continue it along. We took Judkins last time. We could go Judkins. We can go Caleb. Caleb matches up nicely with our pick on DK, so it's kind of more of a Steelers. We could get Laporta at a little bit of a value. This is where I would take him. Would you want to go Laporta here?
I'm okay with Laporto or Caleb if we want to do something different. Um, I'm okay with either one. Probably Caleb.
Go
I don't
Caleb.
really like to. Yeah, I
Laporta's just so expensive, and he's never going to be the top option in his offense, even though it's a high-scoring offense. I feel like tight end is so much more replaceable than if we hit on a Caleb who is a workhorse year one and just like is this rookie sensation.
yeah, yeah, and I think Laporta is just it is a decent fall on him, but he's just so overpriced as is. Like I don't know if he really gives you much of a difference over like a guy like TJ Hawkinson or something. And I really don't like pushing the like first running back further than this. Even like this far, like we've pushed it pretty far as is. Um
Faux pas calling it San Fran, Mossy Oak, and Wintergreen. Yeah, Cope Wintergreen. Oh, Grizz. More of a Grizz guy. Okay. The second one. So Creoth. Got it. I think I got it. Like Chris. Creoth Chris. Very good. And yeah, the driving's crazy. Yeah, Hartman, that's right. You're okay. You're from Michigan. That's right. Okay, this is all coming back to me because I think we talked about this at some point in the last 2 weeks. We were kind of having a late night stream.
oh
It was
yeah.
just me on solo, and everyone was kind of saying where they're from. We had a lot of guys who are from the West Coast, which doesn't surprise me because I come on late for like the Central Time Zone, anyways. But um, bingo,
Yeah, it
got it.
kind of
Okay,
makes sense
sweet.
with when you come on because like
Yeah,
I think if you're like East Coast or something, it'd be like 1
there's no
a.m. or
one in here
whatever.
East Coast except for like the madman that is Steve and some of the other DGens who are just out here grinding and picking up that sweet EV late at night. Um, ooh, I mean, I like Igbuka. I like Higgins as well. We
We do
we could
have
go
a lad with oh
with Lad
Tyler.
with Higgins. Kind of makes a lot of sense to me, and it's not too rich to get him, right?
Yeah, I mean it's only a couple picks before
Or do you
they
want to go Trey
like
Harris? Would you rather
go
go? I go
double.
probably probably Higgins for me.
Okay, yeah. I'm fine with Higgins. I don't
There
really
you
have
go.
a strong lean between those two, like Higgins Harris. It kind of just depends on the build a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, but I think grabbing that bring back, like I think those other Houston receivers, I don't really feel super comfortable getting Noel or Christian Kirk.
I don't
So I
either.
think grabbing Higgins feels a lot better.
I was getting overexposed to Noel because I was ranking him kind of aggressively, like in the late 130s, and he goes around 150. So I was getting him on like too many builds, and I had to stop clicking him. And he's continuing. I'm noticing his ADP is kind of holding where it is, but I've seen him fall in a bunch of drafts, and the confidence that I don't know, maybe people are just getting bored of the click or the confidence that he's going to like be productive in fantasy the first year. Maybe Kirk as a veteran holds down the slot job, and it's just them rotating in and out, and he never is a true fantasy asset. I don't know enough about Noel to understand, is he just a pure slot guy? It's kind of how I've been hearing about him, that he's been like discussed that way. So then that's where kind of Kirk, who I guess can also play outside, but then I don't know how that's going to work out. I just don't. I need to get more intel before I'm confident in taking a potentially the Texans' fourth wide receiver option. In the top 130 picks.
Yeah, I actually did a very similar thing where like I was taking Noel a little bit ahead of ADP because it kind of felt like the wide receivers fell off, and I kind of got a bag of them, and then he didn't really keep moving up. I kind of expected him to move up some, but then I think kind of realizing more too, like him and Kirk are so duplicative that it's hard to say who's actually going to be playing. Week one, it probably actually leans Kirk, and then you kind of hope Noel later in the season. But in the 130s, that's probably a little bit too early of a bet for a guy like that.
Steve hit the special, hit the right combination of the phrase. He said he's drinking a bourbon, and I got some nice ones on here, Steve. And some of these are some of the ones you suggested. I forget exactly which one. Maybe Remus was one of yours. I think you suggested Long Branch as well. What are you sipping on tonight, Steve? Did it make the list? Because this list is going to grow. If you've got other recommendations in the chat, we can add to the bourbon list. And Hartman, are you a bourbon guy? Do you have any recommendations to add to the list?
Oh yeah. I think when you were talking about before, I think I mentioned
Blanton's?
Garrison Brothers.
Was Garrison Brothers one of
Blanton.
yours that you like?
Yeah. I've been liking the Garrison Brothers.
Blanton's
The
is
Eagle
fancy.
Rare is good.
Eagle
Yeah,
Rare's good.
Bland's is the that's like the high fluting one.
Yeah, highfalutin
Um
for sure. I think Anthony was the one, or at least a couple guys in the chat brought it up last time. I mean, it's a little bit rich since we have Daniels, but we have Kyler there. Do we pass on him and go running back instead?
uh I think so actually. I think we pass on him and we get either, well, not Warren because we have Caleb, but I think we pass on him and get Mason. Um
Or would you want to go Najee?
uh
Najee might be there with our
I'm
next
fine
pick.
with
Who knows?
either. Yeah. Because I think we do have some QB outs. Like we have Herbert since we have that game a little bit more built out. That might be a pretty good pick. We could even look at like Stroud later, something like that. I think if we got either of those guys, we could stop at 2 still and maybe not spend quite as much capital.
You guys are obsessed with Bland. I'll have to add it. I didn't add it because I didn't want the text to be too small, and there's already a number of names on there. And then I don't think I've personally ever had Blanton's. When I had to I know that I've seen it, but when y'all said it, it didn't come to my mind. And when I Googled it, it was like $140 for a bottle, or it was something in that range. And I was like, geez. So I don't know if that's like, the list is not like the best bourbons you can get. It's kind of just what your bourbon is. And if that's your bourbon, then shout out. But
I
I
think I
guess
think some people can get Bland's around like $80 or something, but usually the distribution's pretty limited on it. So you gotta
okay.
pay like premium like 140, 130 to get it. Oh yeah, I like
Wild
that
turkey, but I have no
Russell's Reserve
palate.
Pen.
Yeah, Kriya. There's worse things, but that's fine. That's kind of in the category we're talking about. I think we're probably like we're what I'm imagining for the bourbon list is like one step up from Wild Turkey, one step down from Blanton's. So in that kind of range. Okay, 85 to 100 in Illinois for Blanton. Maybe I just saw something weird online. Maybe it was a special aged or barrel or something, whatever. But yeah, I at least saw that around me it would have been like 120. I would have said so. Maybe it doesn't drink like
I mean,
140. What does that mean?
if you
Must just taste.
it doesn't taste like it's worth that much money.
See, since Steve's saying he wishes he
Uh,
could get it for 130. So and then in Baltimore, yeah, Buffalo Trace, very nice, very nice. I think that is another good. It's like what's on your shelf, kind of like what do you got right now? What would if you pulled out a bourbon, like what would you offer me if I
well,
came over for a bourbon? Buffalo Trace is in, yeah,
Blends is Buffalo Trace. That's just like the little bit older single barrel Buffalo Trace. So it's the same
Four Roses.
distillate. It's made by Buffalo Trace,
Okay, maybe
and
I'm learning
so is
something then.
Eagle
Yeah, that's
Rare. Eagle Rare
right.
too is also a Buffalo Trace product.
So Kyler's still there, Najee's still there. I probably would lean to Najee based on our build. But I mean, 20 picks for Kyler's
I mean,
also pretty sweet.
that's a lot on Kyler.
It's a lot on Kyler. Maybe we have to do it. Of
Can you tab over to running back real quick?
course.
Uh, so I mean,
Charbonnet, Tootin.
so if we pass on, so if we take Kyler, do we think we're gonna get one of these three guys back or no?
Not
I
one of
don't
these
think Kyler
three.
will keep.
Not one of these three, but I mean, it'll be something
Oh,
like
we
a
gotta look.
Tajay.
Um, I mean, I think I'm. We do have Herbert too. Yeah,
I think
I
we take
mean,
the
that's
ADP
tough.
value.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That was what I
Well,
was leaning, but that was a tough spot with such a fall on him.
let's do some because we also got Marvin Harrison at a huge fall. So I think this is worth it because it becomes more unique the further back we get both of them stacked together, where we're going to beat out a lot of the other Marvin Harrison, Kyler stacks that are reaching for those guys. Um, Even though our running backs are pretty thin right now, I think we are almost done at wide receiver. Where unless we have a bye conflict, this could be one that stops at 6. Because I will say we don't have very many tight ends or running backs at this point. But also, again, I don't see us ever going 3 QB, and so maybe it's like a 2 7 7 2 or a 2 6 or 7, any combination of that. I don't know. So we'll figure it out, but we still have some ways out. I wanted to check this real
Yeah, and
quick.
I agree. QB is obviously off our board. Oh, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I'm just gonna search. So we got Marvin Harrison at pick 31, and he usually goes at pick 25. So we picked up 5 points, 5 percentage points of draft capital on the draft capital curve. So we got a player in a range where you'd expect to get like 74% of a Jamar Chase. We got a player who's worth 78% of a Jamar Chase. So that's a nice grab on the Marvin Harrison. And then let me just make sure we're still good. The Kyler pick, he usually goes at like 95, and we got him at 115, right? Or around there. So 95
Yeah,
would have
right
been
around there. Yeah.
95 would have been 32% of a Jamar Chase. We got him at, what was it, 115? Was it 20 picks? So
Yeah. Yeah. Right around there.
we literally got 10 percentage points of draft capital for getting that faller on him. So that 10 points there, and then we said it was what, like 5 points the one before, I
Like
think.
5 points on Marvin.
So we got like
Yeah.
15%
Wow.
like moving up the draft capital curve, like based on those 2 picks. That's going to be huge if Kyler and Marvin Harrison actually are guys you need. If they're guys you like want to have, we're going to have a stronger roster around them than most people have, and it probably justifies us going Jaden Daniels and Murray together because of the fall we got on Murray.
Yeah, that's a really good point you made too about like getting that stack with both of them falling. Um, I didn't really thought about that, but yeah, like that's going to be such a common stack now where people are taking it at ADP
Yep.
that we're going to have an advantage over all those teams they got at ADP, and especially with that big of a Kyler fall. I mean, that I don't really hardly ever see him fall,
I've
especially not
never
like
seen that.
that.
Not since the big board.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the last puppy I draft Kyler because they're not going to be able to beat this team. We just got to land it on these running backs. Like we said, we didn't expect Charbonnet, Tootin, or Najee Harris to come back. That would have been just cherry on top. But I think, and we don't need Herbert anymore.
Mm.
I think, man, it could be easily Spears or Ramondre. Tight end wise, I don't know that there's anyone we have to get tight end wise. Warren is there. I mean, that's kind of an interesting play. But I think you think
Yeah,
we need running back more than we need tight end at this point, and the tight ends are kind of more flat, right?
yeah, I think running back over tight end, and then we can be hopeful to get like one of those top 3 probably tight ends on our next pick. Maybe would
Would you
be
go
like a good
Javante
start
ever
for
because of the
Sam.
bring back for the Daniels? I did it.
Yeah, yeah,
I kind of
I
hate it.
don't.
I kind of hate
I
it, but I
mean,
did it just because I don't do it often, and we're getting good coach speak on him, and it's the bring back, so I kind of forced it, but it's not like it's egregious, right?
oh yeah, I mean, you got a little bit of value on him even. So I'm in the same boat where I don't really pick Javante. I don't really like him a ton, but right now he is the best bet to lead that backfield, and
Yeah.
we know the leader of that backfield will put up points. So even if we don't like the player, I think a lot of people didn't like Rico Dowdle last year as a player, but you look, he put up a good stat line, especially going this far back.
Yeah, I mean the blurb I saw today was Javante Williams feels good 2 years post knee surgery, and it's like, yeah, but like, I don't know. I've never experienced that myself. How much time do you need? And once you're dust, or you just kind of dust, and he never recaptured that rookie year. As far as I remember, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I thought he just had a lot of potential in that rookie season, and then the injury, and it just never was the same. I don't know. The
Well,
Broncos kind of gave up on him, but I guess that's what you do. You don't always sign your running back you draft to a second contract, so it's not that crazy that he could resurge. But the problem I have is if he couldn't get it done with the best offensive run block, the best run blocking offensive line in the league with the Broncos last season, what makes us think he's going to get it done with the Cowboys, who are struggling at the O line and trying to make their way back up?
right, right. Yeah, or let's make this pick quick. So, which tight end do you lean here?
I
If
like
or do you lean
Kraft
Spears?
more. I have Kraft ranked higher.
hmm
And then do we
I'm
need
the same way. I like Kraft a lot.
should we take Kraft and just it's a good pick, or do you want to go Spears because we need another running back? I think we could push running back and take Kraft. Ugh,
Um,
I
all
got
right,
it.
yeah, yeah. No, that sounds fine. I really like Kraft. I think he's a great value.
I think so too. And
Just
then we can obviously get late tight ends that are still good, but it's like at some point you want to have a tight end that you feel like can hit and like be pay off a couple picks above or a couple rounds above where you're getting them. And I feel like, maybe Warren's that guy, but the offense not great. We don't really have any bets in there already. And then who's the QB? And then he's a rookie, so they have all those things going against him. I think he's a great talent, but it'd be hard. We'll see if it pays off year one. With Kraft, we just saw like a pretty good year out of him, and the Packers, they do run the ball a lot, but I guess with Love, it's going to be through the air that he's paying off. And not that we have Love, but I don't know. We didn't get any other Ravens on this one either, so it not crazy, and then we don't have any other Packers. So I just feels like a good pick. I guess that's what I'm saying. I think you like him too. I
yeah,
think it makes sense. We could have
yeah.
gone
I think
Ferguson.
Kraft's
Maybe
just a
Jake
good pick where
Ferguson.
he
Maybe Jake
goes.
Ferguson there if we big brained it a little bit harder.
Oh yeah, for the bring back on our
But I
Washington.
don't want to force it because like
Yeah.
I think Kraft is better than Ferguson.
Well, I think Kraft is a decent value there. Like I think Ferguson might
Can
have been
fall
more in
too.
play if he fell around.
Yeah,
Yeah, or
Ferguson
he
tends
already
to
went,
fall, right?
but yeah, I mean in this one he went, but yeah, I mean I don't really think Ferguson was totally in play there. Just I know he correlates, but I think just I view like Njoku Kraft the possible upside of Warren a little bit higher than Ferguson, like maybe a mini tier break kind of thing. Um, just because Ferguson won't snipe Kriath. Oh yeah, Jordan.
Sorry about that. See, we're so fixated on like how we're recovering from going so wide receiver and QB heavy that we're like we have. I don't think we've even considered what anyone else is drafting for like 6 rounds.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, these like zero wide receiver build or zero RB builds. We just went back to back with 0 RB,
Well,
which,
Krios is doing the same
you know,
thing. He hasn't taken a running back since his first 2 picks. I guess it's not 0 RB, but like it's just he's also in this range where he's trying to grab an RB, and then he's like, I guess not. I guess I'll take QB, tight end. And I kind of like his team though. We'll see how it turns out at the end. We'll review some of these guys. Um,
I
man, Javid Njoku seems like he's super underappreciated too. Would be like a good value.
yeah, him and Kraft, I really debate between those 2.
Yeah,
Tyler Warren, I do like him too, but I just feel like maybe
yeah,
he's still falling a little, maybe not quite done falling. So I'm waiting a little bit more on him.
that makes sense.
Uh, so I think Eckler here would probably be the pick, right?
Of course,
Or what do you think? Yeah,
no
okay.
doubt. No doubt about it. I think Eckler was one of my top exposed running backs on the big board. It was Eckler, it was Algier, it was Swift, and who else did I? And Blue. I had a good amount of Blue when he was one of the last picks in the draft, and that wasn't so much me knowing anything because obviously we didn't know he was going to be on the Cowboys, and they wouldn't have invested so much in running back. But I was just being a little bit of a homer and being like, you know what? I like Blue. You guys are all wrong, and everyone's like, oh, he's just fast. He's not good. And I was like, well, I've seen every snap he's ever played in college. Like I think he's a talent and he's got a nose for the end zone and he's a speed back and he can catch the ball. And if they can fit him into that role and use him effectively, I think he can be a good fantasy asset. But I think he's just also priced up too high right now, where we're kind of pricing him at his ceiling and expecting him to hit and be like a workhorse or something. Where I think Blue is more of a should be going this range like around Spears or later.
Yeah, I think this team has gotten a little bit too much on him just because I think the community as a whole doesn't really like Devontae or believe in him.
Yeah,
But I think that's maybe gotten to the point where Blue's getting a little bit too hyped. And you never doubt Jerry Jones taking his Texas guys. When Jerry Jones loves those Texas
that's
college
true
players.
too.
So maybe that was a little bit better bet than you were thinking even. But yeah, I mean, that one ended up working out, really good with the landing spot and everything. And, and with him too, just regardless where he lands, I think those guys, like in the really late rounds, those guys who can hit a big play and hit your lineup on minimal touches are always worth a little bit more of a bet, especially like in that pre-draft contest where you don't know where they'll land.
Yeah,
You don't want the like big power guys maybe as much because if they get stuck behind someone, they might not really do anything. But
no doubt.
Jaden Blue, he can get 5 touches and hit your lineup. And that's pretty
100%.
valuable when you don't know where they're gonna land.
That makes sense to me too, is because running back can be opportunity driven. During the big board, you don't want to take a bunch of running backs who might get replaced or get their slice of the pie. Their slice of the pie shrinks their touches, right? So it's like you take more swings on wherever these rookies can land, and then hope that you get some hits.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I was doing the similar thing like in the big board, like a lot of rookie running backs late, just kinda, hope that you hit on some of them. I think that's kind of a good bet to make. Maybe you're taking some zeros, but you just need that one super team. So it's better to take all those big swings late,
So we
especially
have a
pre-draft.
that's right.
Go ahead.
We have a 2-4-6-1 build. Ertz is still there. I think we can just kind of onslaught the Commanders a little
I'd probably
bit.
be leaning. I can't hear you. I'd probably lean Ertz. Yeah, yeah, Ertz.
Oh, did I? Maybe is my problem. Yeah, I was thinking Ertz. Just we take another commander, kind of onslaught the
Um,
Commanders.
I think
Can you hear me now? Chat, can y'all hear
maybe
me?
it's me.
Testing, testing. Okay, okay. Hartman, it's you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Are you muted? Or is your audio off? Can you hear me now? Okay, stream is good. He'll figure it out. He'll figure it out. Appreciate the support in the chat. Um,
Um,
Dun, dun, dun. He'll be back soon. That's not any better. What did I want to do? I'll just, he's going to be back really quick, but I'll just keep it where we're at. Yeah, fuck it. We'll do it live. Rookie mistake. Nah, it's been super fun having Hartman on. You guys know him. You love him. Make sure you show Hartman some support. Go check out his channel, Hartman Fantasy Football. You're all in here. You already all know him. You've been in the chats with him. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's put out at least 2 streams this week. He was on earlier today, and Steve and I were hanging out in there shooting the shit. So I don't know how I've already forgotten. It's not a big promo stream. We're kind of just chilling tonight. So I haven't been telling everyone to hit the like, hit the sub, but especially if you're new, make sure you're subbed. If you're watching this later, sub to the channel, sub here, slap the like. This is a reminder, everyone slap the like. We got all the bros in here. We're answering your dynasty questions. We're drafting sick teams together. He's back. But make sure you're subscribed to Hartman's channel as well and support a fellow best ball bro. I think it's working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now. Sorry, my like audio output just switched.
It happens. It happens all the time, and I do it in normal life, and you just the disgust on people's face when you have an audio issue on Zoom or something. It's like, come on, like I know it's 2025. We should all know how to Zoom or whatever by now, but just like give me a break. Like AirPod died, you know. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
So no sweat. Little fall on both Roshan and Dowdle, and I think both of them could fit this team nicely. Do you have any strong takes on what to do next?
I mean, I like Roshan a little bit more,
I think I do
but
too.
I don't have okay. All right, yeah. I just think he could have a goal line role in that backfield. Obviously, they're still at risk for like signing someone, but I think Swift's been really inefficient on the goal line as a rusher. And like you were kind of saying earlier, Roshan got a good amount of rushing touchdowns, even with very little work.
Yeah,
So he was also a very young rookie last year. So maybe
true.
he takes a little bit of a step up, gets
2
some
years
goal
ago.
line work. Or oh, right, 2 years ago, sorry.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean though. I know what you mean. He's still young. He's one of my Longhorn guys. I was a big fan of him. I overdrafted him for his rookie year. I was 20% Roshan going in on his rookie season. And he didn't really pay off at all because he was super priced up. And then he didn't have the touchdowns, so he had more fantasy points than he did last season actually, but I think it was just like a little bit here, a little bit there. I think last season he might have hit lineups more often. I don't know for a fact because I didn't really draft him a ton last year, but the 6 touchdowns looks nice on only 71 touches. So that's not a bad pace. Could he be the Thunder to DeAndre Swift's Lightning in kind of the Montgomery to a Gibbs kind of situation for the Ben Johnson Bears offense? Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think there could be some hope for that, just with like especially with the improvements to the offensive line and hopefully the improvements to the overall offense. Um, I think he really could be like their short yardage back, and maybe that just comes out with a couple touchdown games, multi-touchdown games where he does spike a little and hit your lineup, even if his yardage maybe isn't the highest.
So we're at pick 186. Our next pick is 199. We're feeling good at QB. We're feeling good enough at tight end. Like no stress there. We could go back to the well at wide receiver. We haven't been there in a while. Or we can take like a Devin Neal or a Dobbins. This is kind of a Dobbins team again. Is there anyone you need at wide receiver, you think?
I don't think anyone we really need who's like a
Dobbins?
separator. I think one of the running backs is good. Yeah, Dobbins fine.
I think Neal's fine. I don't want to be overexposed to Neal. I'd rather be overexposed to Dobbins, where it's like it can only get better. We kind of already know Neal's situation, and I think that's priced into where he's currently going. But like if Dobbins lands with the Bears, with the Cowboys, with the Commanders, anywhere interesting, like he's going to shoot up 5 or 6 rounds or something crazy.
Right. And I think with Neal too, like I take Neal, I have a decent chunk of him, but I think maybe is a little bit riskier than people are giving it credit for. Just with Kendre Miller, Kendre Miller could still be the RB2. That is a legitimate risk. I think maybe people aren't really considering that as much. Where Dobbins, if a team signs him, he's likely to have a role, or else they wouldn't sign him. And he's still young. He looked good at times last year. I think he's not quite as risky as some of those other like older free agents and stuff. Because Dobbins isn't even too old either. He's like 26, 27, something like that.
Yeah, I think he's like, yeah, that all sounds right to me. I forgot to link it earlier, but boom, there's Hartman's YouTube. Bunch of y'all are gonna go subscribe right now if you haven't already, and support our bro. It's been fun having him on tonight. We're just drafting, talking, vibing. He's got a good look going. I didn't even tell him to do that. He showed up ready to go. So he loved to see it. And we're drafting some bangers. I mean, we're kind of, I think where our minds come together, we're gonna get overexposed on some of these drafts. Like we keep taking Dobbins. We keep taking who else did we get again? Murray again, right? Didn't we just take Kyler Murray, or am I crazy?
Yeah, but we did it the other way. We got it with McBride, now we got it with Harrison.
We almost took Judkins, and then we pivoted to Caleb Johnson. And yeah, this is fun though. This team is actually pretty sweet. I think this team is, for a puppy, this is like one of my favorites I've done so far.
Yeah, no, I really like how this team came out. I mean, obviously I think with getting similar players, we kind of went similar style with the 0 RB. One of them we went elite QB, one of them we went elite tight end. But I think, this is a good way to build. I think it's a very viable way to build. And especially our wide receiver rooms have been like very strong on both drafts, which that always makes it feel pretty good for a team.
True. The wide receivers are pretty good. I'm just throwing up some correlation picks, and we can look at who's available ADP wise. We can look at, what might be available. I saw Michael Wilson obviously gone, and then it was getting kind of late in the draft. We have 2 picks left, so we got to figure some things out on how we want to end this one with a 2-6-6-2. We easily could take a running back or a wide receiver. Corum is there, kind of interesting. Taj Brooks would be there if we want to push it. Noah Brown, maybe a last round pick, maybe Tolbert, a last round pick. Is there anyone else that you think is worth getting here, running back wise or wide receiver wise?
I mean, I think Coker's a good value, but if we want to lean more into the correlation, then I could see going like Taj Brooks. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I think Corum's a good value.
I let it run out on Corum, just a piece of a good offense. We still could do Taj Brooks and have a really crazy 8 running back build. I just don't know.
So can I see the receivers quick?
Yeah, of course. Let's check our bye weeks too. I think we're pretty clean though. We've got Puka McConkey,
just 2 week 12s. Oh, and then
Harris,
Marv,
with the 2 on 8 and the 2 on 12. So we've got 6 guys. Any given week, we're going to have 4, and then we've got a ton of running backs that could hit the flex. Probably we're just done at running back. I don't know that I've ever taken 8 running backs in a build before.
I think we're good at running back too. I think we either go receiver or we could look at tight end. I don't know who's there. Because our tight end room should be fine, just if there was anyone good there that correlated. I mean, unless you're a big Tavian Sanders guy, I'm not really
doing it for me.
Those guys, yeah.
Now that I think about it, it's like Corum there. I mean, just a random kind of throw-in piece, a good offense. Maybe he gets a role. It's kind of similar to the bet we took on Roshan in some ways. So it's not. I don't hate it. But Taj Brooks or Ford could have been equally as good there. I think in this build though,
we do have some bets on.
Yeah,
I was gonna say we do have some bets on the Rams. We could grab like.
Okay. I knew we had Puka. I knew there's a reason I was leaning Corum, but I honestly just like skipped over his name, and I don't know why. I'm probably still thinking back to the last draft, but where I was thinking we had Jefferson or something. It is kind of smart then. Okay, I feel better about it. We can talk myself back in. We do have a lot of pieces on the Commanders. Would you take a Noah Brown because he can spike, or would you go Tolbert for the bringback, or would you rather go with a guy like a Wicks or
I think I would personally lean with like a Wicks,
yeah,
just because I feel like he actually gives us a lot more upside.
yes,
Where those other guys, maybe they hit for you on the right week, but I just like the bet of more a guy who can help you throughout the year
true.
rather than like getting a correlated piece with maybe like less upside. Because I
We
don't
have
really
Kraft
know
as
what Noah
well.
Brown or Tolbert's upside is. Oh
We
yeah,
also have
yeah. So I guess
Kraft,
that
and
does
then
kind of correlate.
I've kind of re-remembered that Wicks is more of a slot guy, isn't he? Or no?
No, I believe Wicks is more of an outside receiver, right?
I said it out loud and I was like, that didn't make sense. Let me look it up real quick. I just looked this up
Thirty
before this.
percent, 30% slot rate last year.
Okay, so that's probably just more of a function of the receivers that they had. Um, so I guess because Reed plays in the slot, right?
Yeah. Reed is a slot player.
But then Reed doesn't
And then
play every snap, and so when it's Reed's out, it's Wicks in the slot, I guess.
yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
Okay,
because
because I
a
know
lot of
Golden's
people
outside.
compared Wicks to the kind of like Christian Watson replacement. Like when Christian Watson was out, that was kind of when Wicks got the bigger role.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think they do just kind of switch around who goes in the slot quite a bit in Green Bay. I mean, Reed is a big time slot player, but like you say, he doesn't play all the snaps.
Yeah, and
Um,
definitely Golden is going to take over that. I would imagine Golden takes over that Christian Watson outside receiver role. And then it's like, do they trade Dobbs? If they do that, that means they're feeling pretty good about either Wick stepping into an outside receiver role or the fact that Savion Williams is like going to be a starter from the beginning or something. But maybe they don't move Dobbs. I just feel like with the bad blood they kind of had, it started to sound like it was going to make sense. Isn't that what your leaning is? Or are you thinking Dobbs stays at this rate?
it it's always tough with the trades. I mean, I do think there's definitely a possibility. It's just not super relevant. That was a good one. Wicks might be a kickoff returner.
This is hilarious. I ignored the chat for a minute, but yeah, Dobbins and Taylor, crazy stuff. And there goes my internet. Hopefully it's not a big issue. I think I've been kind of a little bit. I don't know. I'm
I
plugged in.
was
Like I don't know. I don't know.
it's not too bad. Just like the occasional little,
I hate that.
but usually your audio is coming through like all good. It's just the picture or whatever, like every once in a
Yeah,
while.
I
But
don't know.
it's good. It's not that bad.
Maybe my neighbors are on my internet right now and I don't know it. And they're watching Netflix or something. I don't know who to blame. I turned off. I had other devices using my internet that I unplugged and stuff, and even then it didn't get better. But I'm trying. I'll figure something out. But I apologize if I'm cutting out, guys. But just making it work. A lot of good comments from the chat. Yeah, Wicks might be a kickoff returner, so we have that going for us. I love the sauce from James. Thanks for drafting with
We
us.
get we get points if he scores on a kick return, right? You get 6 for that?
Is that 6? I don't actually remember. It's not relevant enough to like put it in any equation, but it might be true. 4662 for Fantasy Dog. We're gonna have to peek at a bunch of these teams before we
Oh
jump
yeah.
into the next draft for sure. Let's see what we cooked up. I'm gonna go through ours super quick to give us time to look at everyone else's, and we've already kind of like the main point of ours is we did get Jaden Daniels. We ended up stacking him with Eckler at ADP, Debo at ADP, and Ertz right at ADP, which feels pretty nice. Anytime you don't get McLaurin, it's not ideal, but I think when we played it this way, it makes a lot of sense. We got Javonte Williams, so that's perfect. I love it. The Kyler Murray, incredible value, stacked up with Marvin Harrison at incredible value. We almost took Chase Brown over Marvin Harrison. I'm glad we took Marvin Harrison the way it turned out. The running back room, we got 7 guys, and I think it makes a lot of sense the way we did it. We've got some upside with some of these kind of younger guys, second-year guys. Jordan Mason in a new position, getting his first crack at taking over a backfield. Watch out, Aaron Jones. And then the Eckler stack, like I said, Dobbins, we've been a little bit too crazy about him. Maybe we don't take him in the next draft, but the wide receivers is the strength of this team. And when that is how you when you draft in such a way where your wide receivers are your clear strength. I think that is nearly optimal, unless it's 2024. In case of 2024 repeat, this team is dead. But Kraft and Ertz solid for 2. Let's see what everyone else is cooking up. Let's jump over to K Mize and let's see, Hartman. Can you? And I noticed you took the 7,600 off of your name this time. You're just
Oh yeah.
I don't know what that means. You're not betting on yourself this time. Actually, we'll come back to the fantasy best ball discussion as we're waiting for the next draft to queue up. But look, give K Mize a quick, 30-second overview of his 2583.
All right. So Mahomes and May at quarterback. That feels pretty good as a QB room. Bucky, Jacobs, Harvey.
He's got the
What's that
stacks.
receiver? Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Bucky, Jacobs, Harvey, Scadaboo, Bashaw, Tootin. Really good
freaking
running back
strong.
room.
Super strong RB room, right?
Yeah. And then
The receivers look
receiver,
good enough too, though, don't they?
yeah, Jefferson, Worthy, Ricky, Diggs, McMillan, Leggett, Yoshivas, Tolbert. So maybe just like a little bit thinner at the depth, but I think he threw enough volume at it. I mean, I think that's a really good build, especially given the strength of the running backs. And then you
Yeah.
got the stacks, Worthy, Diggs with May and Mahomes. Yeah, I mean, I like it overall. And then where the tight ends looking like Ferguson, Henry, Terrence Ferguson, both double Ferguson.
The double Ferg.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good build overall. I think given the strength at running back, decent tight end room, like the wide receivers being a little bit thin is okay. You just need your top guys to really like show up for you, but I think it's a really solid build overall.
I do too. I like this one. Mahomes and May seems like a good combo. Got a little bit of value on Mahomes while you're at it. The running backs, probably what it is because he already had Mahomes, the wide receiver is not so appealing around pick 99. So that's the reason I think he's like Scadaboo makes sense there.
Mhm.
Because there's not many good alternatives. And then he went later with the tight end. So I'm guessing Kelsey was already gone. Let's just do a quick board check. Was Kelsey gone at 99? And does that make sense of why he then pivoted to, yeah, in this one, Kelsey, I don't see him. Kelsey went 104. So interesting that you maybe thought about going Scadaboo over Kelsey, but I mean, I'm in on Scadaboo, so like I agree either way. I just might have thought that on a Mahomes build, you might just tag him on there. So that's the only thing I can think of. But otherwise, I think that team is solid. Let's jump over to the fantasy dog, who claims to have built something of a monster with a 4-6-6-2. What's the next draft you're going to do? What do you think, Hartman? You think we get into another puppy? It seems like the crowd liked the puppy. I think we're going to do a 30-second puppy in the next like 2 to 5 minutes. So I think that's what we're going to be doing, unless the vote is
Yeah, that sounds
strongly
good.
for something else.
Sounds good to me.
Probably, yeah, DDoSing me after showing the cat shirt. Yeah, K-Mize. I think anytime you can blame PPR Tyler in this chat, I think you have to do it. He's the reason my internet's going out. No, just
He just came in, hated, and left.
yeah, came in to hate. No, but
I respect that.
he's here in spirit if he's not lurking and still listening in. But I have to check. It was just the hate you're giving him from the Golden State situation? Because yeah, I don't even think that the T-Wolves played tonight, right? They play, I'm guessing tomorrow. I don't know. We can look it up later. I'm not
Oh yeah.
super.
They don't play tonight. They played yesterday.
Yeah, they played yesterday. I'm not super plugged into the NBA playoffs right now as much as I could be. Either because the Rockets got bounced early, or I'm just, picking my battles as it is. I still got to catch up on my highlights for the Charles Schwab later tonight. No one spoil because I was looking at the leaderboard earlier today, but I didn't check back in since probably 3 or 4 p.m. So I don't know what's going on, but it looked like it was kind of an interesting turnout at top of the leaderboard. So we'll check into that later. But let's see what Fantasy Dog did here before we get into this next 30-second puppy. Dak, Goff, AR and Geno. Great value on Geno. Maybe jumped the gun with the AR pick and then felt like he could have gone Geno. I'm guessing these are all going to be pretty nicely stacked up, though, based on taking Dak Prescott at 101. I think he got CD, if I had to guess, right? So the CD's there. He's also got blue. The running backs, to me, look plenty strong enough. The Ja'Cory Krosky merit, why not? I don't know. I might have taken another receiver over the JCM pick. That's all I can say so far, but let's see how it turned out. Who would he have gotten with Goff and Geno to feel like he couldn't pass up on those guys after taking Dak so early? Jameson, the double stack with Pickens, I love. Jameson, I'm super in on, so that makes sense. He also have this wide receiver room looks deadly, so I can see why you'd stop at 6. I don't understand the Geno pick other than just scooping up a value, but then it makes you feel like you regret taking Anthony Richardson where you did because he's also not stacked. So you have a naked Geno and a naked AR, but I'm not hating on it because I think your receivers are sick. Your running backs are good enough and definitely guys that I like, Connor, Pollard. The tight end seems good enough in a strange way. You get one kind of mid early and then one late who's undervalued. And you got to bring back with McLaurin, so you're really making a bet on that game. I think you had, all I could say is maybe one more wide receiver instead of JCM or Geno. What do you any other thoughts there to finish it up on this one, Hartman?
I agree. I think either skip on AR or Geno and then get another receiver. But I think overall it's a pretty solid build. I mean, the receivers are solid enough to stop at 6. Oh yeah. Yeah, sorry, fantasy dog. You sniped it.
Hilarious.
You got the Dallas double. Can't be too upset about it.
Oh, that's a good point, Kim Eyes. I didn't even think about, we're pretty late in the puppy, so people have their exposure set. That's an interesting point there. Yep. I always kind of forget because I think this is like close to my 50th puppy, and I'm not going overboard with the puppies. I'm focusing pretty hard on BBM, but I always forget the puppy's close to closing, and so people are just getting different in general. So that's another good reason. Wanted Pierce with AR and then didn't land the Pierce was the excuse, but
Pierce
makes sense. Yeah, Pierce is super undervalued. I was talking with Billy Jones on Tuesday, and his argument was, look at Pierce's historical seasons beyond last year, and he actually averages out to a much worse receiver. Actually, maybe he's overvalued. Maybe his touchdowns were peak. Maybe that was his career year. But then I talk to guys like Steve, and I look at other rankings, and I do my own kind of deep thought about Pierce. And I think we were talking earlier today, and when you were live, Hartman, is I was saying, could Bateman just be expensive Alec Pierce?
Oh yeah. Well, and then when you kind of look at that range, like you really do see how Pierce could be a viable pick, like where you were saying, because it's a lot of guys
Could
with
Pierce be viable?
projection, like rookies and stuff, and Pierce has actually done it with, relatively poor quarterback play. And I think maybe all the indie guys could be a little undervalued when you consider like Daniel Jones, we don't like him as a player. We don't think he's a great quarterback, but he could be a lot better passer than what A-Rich was consistently last year. The indie guys could be pretty good values, like almost all of them for the most part.
Yeah, I think Pierce was so efficient. He was the number 1 wide receiver in the league in yards per reception, which isn't like the craziest, most advanced metric, but it means something. I mean, he was averaging like 20 yards per reception. So he put up 800 yards on like 39 catches or something, and all those touchdowns that hit. When he hits in a big way, was one of Steve's points that he had made last time he was talking about it. And then he was in the chat earlier too when you and I were talking about just the Ravens in general, and then somehow my brain connected to like Bateman to Pierce range. Maybe the wide receivers after pick 100, 105 are super flat. Like, what's the difference between like all the way up to like pick 170-ish, and then it kind of creates another tier where it's just like Lockett and other picks that go undrafted. But is the difference between a Bateman and a Pierce more dependent on how you're stacking and the play, like the teams that you're stacking, then it's truly about like the skill and the outcome. Obviously, the Ravens are a better team, and we don't know the QB situation for the Colts to the full extent. But I don't know, just more deep thoughts on like, should Alec Pierce be going pick 140 instead of 170, or even pick 125? Like, what's the difference? Besides the QBs are in that range, and they kind of push the receivers back, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of those indie guys, they get underpriced, and Pierce especially, because you don't really know which QB you want to take with them, so you don't really feel comfortable building out that stack. Um, I think that just lowers the price of the offense as a whole.
Some good points. Some
Oh,
very good points. Yeah, we'll have to look into some more. Yeah, and then dogs at 30% Pierce. I'm getting up there. Let me just check my Pierce across all of these post NFL draft contests. It should be higher, but I'm only at 18% Pierce, so it could be higher, no doubt. Let's do a quick look at Kriot's team. He went with a 2.583. Love and Tua, Gibbs and Achan. I mean, that's a nice start. If you're gonna go 2 RB start, that's one that I really like. Then he waited, which is another good thing to do structurally. He took Garendo, a player I like. Giddens, why not? Keaton Missile, shout out to the chat. And Hartman's a big fan too. What was it? We were talking about Justice Hill earlier as well, and then I think you were kind of like, yeah, but what about Keaton Mitchell, right? You've always been on that train, right? You're one of those guys.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a big Keaton Missile truther. I I see the case for Justice Hill though. In my own personal exposure, I'll push the Keaton Mitchell, but you know, if I'm being honest, like I see the case for Justice Hill. I understand. Like he'd be the main lead back if something happened to Henry.
Probably, right?
Keep
And like probably, but yeah, anything could happen. If Henry goes down, it's like who knows? They just pass it more than we even expect, and then Lamar hits like this unreal ceiling that we could never see coming.
That's true too. Yeah,
That would be
yeah. You could
insane though.
definitely
It's
see
like
that.
they're in shotgun passing it every single play, and then they do like a draw like out of nowhere, like and no one, and then it's like Justice Hill getting like a 10-yard run on this draw where the box isn't loaded and everyone's trying to cover the receivers. But I guess maybe they have Likely out wide or something, and maybe I don't know. I don't know what it would take, but what any thoughts on did Likely? Okay, Likely's not on this team either. I don't know. Likely's another guy that could be really underpriced potentially, or maybe it's just right, but I don't know. I need to get more Likely.
It like Likely's a guy I'm kind of fading. I think he's okay where he goes. I just don't really see him surpassing like Mark Andrews. It's just really hard to see. And you know, he still put up like 500 yards, good amount of touchdowns last year, good amount of red zone looks, but it's just hard to really see him really breaking out without Mark Andrews falling off.
Yeah, I know. That's the part. And Mark Andrews almost got traded, but it wasn't meant to be. And then he comes back from the injury or like whatever, and Andrews is still there. He's still a big part. I mean, how many touchdowns he had last season? We thought Andrews was starting so slow last year, and then he comes out with all these touchdowns, and he ends up being like just fine. It's kind of wild, but it's just you got to bet on the Ravens wherever you can get a piece. I like these receivers.
Well,
Somehow we all ended up with good receivers. Takes a bunch early, gets the stack with Dobbs and Waddle, all the other good pieces in here. The bring back with Egbuka, and then the tight ends. I mean, they're good enough. I mean, it's so hard to have a bad tight end room in 2025.
yeah, pretty much all the tight end rooms feel good unless you like really punt and only stop at 2. That's pretty much the only like it feels good if you grab 3 pretty much from any range of the draft. Yeah, I think that team was really solid. I think
I like it.
maybe could have like grabbed a third RB, maybe like where you grab Pittman or something like that, since he already did have so much
Maybe.
receiver firepower. Like you know, around that 100 range, just having so much firepower already. But I think it's a really solid team, really good build overall. This is gonna be
Yeah,
a hard to advance out of.
you want Gibbs and Achan hitting your lineup every single week. Garindo's going to flex in and cover buys sometimes, but I do agree that if the potential for Giddens and Mitchell to cover buys or flex in is maybe on the lower end, it just maybe need a lot to go right for them to be able to hit exactly in the weeks you need them to. So I get what you were saying about maybe getting a running back in the 100 range here. But I think, you play it close to the edge at running back and you anchor on these two guys. And if they are if they pay off their ADP, then you might not need anything else and they just carry and you don't worry about those in between weeks.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's a totally fair way to look at it when you go with the double anchor too. You just
Yeah, they
kinda,
got to pay off,
like,
right?
get contingent guys on the rest, and those guys are smashing week in, week out.
I said we'd be getting to the puppy in like 2 to 5 minutes. I think it's been like way longer than that, but we'll hurry through these last ones. We'll still give the guys a shout out. We got the Century drafting a 2673 Hurts and Darnold. This is a great conversation though, so I don't mind like stalling, but we will get to this next draft soon. Keep y'all waiting. Hurts and Darnold. Wow, that's one way to play it. Let's see how he stacked up Darnold. The running backs. I'm not big on Hunt and Chubb. I will say that, but I like the way the first three is constructed. JSN, of course, now it makes a lot of sense. And I'm trying to figure out because I don't love Shakir either so much. If I'm just being honest, I do like Downs. I'm trying to figure out like where that pick went between 32 and 80. Okay, no, it's a Bowers team. Now it makes sense because I was looking for one more wide receiver with this duo to make it a trio. And I guess it's the Hurton Kamara with Bowers. So that to me is really hard to pull off an elite QB and an elite tight end and then feel like you got enough early value wide receiver. That's how it always ends up being unless you go a true zero RB. So that's all I can say on this one. Like it's hard to feel super comfortable with it, but it doesn't mean it's not a good build and it won't hit. I'm just saying the gap between your wide receiver 2 and 3 feels steep.
I do like getting Khalil and Downs for like 3 and 4 at least because they should be high target players, maybe not as like spiky,
True.
but they give you some floor. So maybe you hope your top 2 are hitting every week and those 2 can kind of give you a wide receiver 3 between the 2 of them. But yeah, I do agree. It's really tough because he also had Hampton. So having Hampton and Kamara and then elite QB, elite tight end, it just makes it really hard to build a solid receiver room when you take that many detours away.
No doubt. Is that Savion Williams entrance music? I like Savion. It's hard to find a way to draft him when you can get Wicks for free. Dobbs goes late. Kraft is back stackable unless we snipe you. And so it's like hard to find a reason to go all the way to Savion. But I'm gonna do it. I've done it once at least. I'll continue to try to do it. Take a look at Steve's team, and then we'll move on to the Huron River Rat, and then we'll get into another puppy.
All right, cool.
We'll speed through this. This is good conversation. We're reviewing so many teams. We're getting in like so many player takes and different structural builds too. 3-5-7-3. Allen with 2 other QBs. Wow, very robust QB build. Let's see how Steve pulls it off. He goes Genty and Derrick Henry. I did see him start that way, and then he grabbed Josh Allen. I'm curious to see how he pulled off this wide receiver room. He stops with 5, and the way he goes from 16 to 81 to 153 makes a lot of sense in my mind. He got a value on Judkins. He probably couldn't pass it up. For the wide receivers, you got T-Mac as your first, and then you stack with Ridley and Odunze. So I guess that's kind of how you pull yourself out of that one. If you're going to have some mid to late early window wide receivers, it always feels better when they're stacked up. I will say that. Cup, Brown, Palmer completes the stack for the Josh Allen. Darius Slayton also has Kincaid, Loveland stacked up, Gesicki. There's not much to hate here. It's a different build because of the elite QB the double anchor running back. He grabbed the value with Judkins. He still ended up going with Williams and Ward. I'm curious, I guess because Ward was such a great value, 20 picks past ADP, it's like too much to pass up on when you already had Ridley. And then what else would you have gotten at pick 184 that's better than the Cam Ward pick? I bet there was nothing there that was even worth it. Like a running back in that range, what's it going to do? You're already betting on Genty Henry, Judkins, and then a wide receiver in that range. We all know they're terrible, and was already done at tight end. So this is like that rare situation, kind of like how we got Kyler with a Jaden Daniels, where Steve, I'm guessing, was like, there's no other better pick on the board. Get Cam Ward 20 picks past ADP, and you've already got the stack, and it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I really like how that turned out. I think Cam Ward just falling that much, I mean, I think you really can't pass up, like just like you were saying. And I think too with how he kind of skipped out on receivers early, that's like probably the best way you can that's probably the best way you can build that, where you just hammer it in those middle rounds and kind of you're throwing volume at it, but still with decent capital where it's guys you feel are gonna have a good role.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Um, yeah, apparently we're just sniping everyone. That's what happens though. The room's so crowded and everyone's so sharp. It's like some players just like fall because we're all trying to stick to our builds. So you get Cam Ward falling, but then other times the player you want gets sniped because we're all just maybe doing some similar things. Seems like a lot of us took 3 tight ends.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think too a lot of seemed like there were quite a few teams that were pushing like pushing receiver quite a bit and stuff, or pushing tight end like you said. So yeah, you're always gonna snipe someone like we're kind of going for similar players, similar ranges.
Yeah, pushing the tight ends, and then everyone wants 3 is a recipe for disaster. It doesn't, but there's some, like, it's so hard to build a bad tight end room. We'll see if we can do it in the next one. In the next one, the challenge is, can we build a bad tight end room? Lamar Jackson, Michael Penix, that feels really sweet. I mean, that feels like a QB room that could do everything you need it to do in best ball for 2025. Cook and Hubbard, Ken Walker. So you get your 3 in kind of that mid-early range, and you go 3 late guys. I like how that looks. Justice Hill with Lamar. We were just talking about how good of an option that could be. London stacked up and Mooney. Love to see it. There's kind of a big gap between your AJ Brown and your Mooney, but the way you pulled it off by double stacking the Falcons and you get Bateman, you got a bunch of receivers kind of in this middle range where people were probably pivoting to QB and maybe even some of these other running backs, but I think it makes sense. And then Burden's a big upside pick. Coleman's a big upside pick. Tillman seems like a fine way to end it there. And then you have the triple stack with Pitts. So, I mean, that's a huge bet on Penix Jr. So that seems fine. Arroyo late, just a guy you like. And then Higbee late for the bring back. Any other takeaways on this one, Hartman, that you would... I mean, I don't know that I would change anything, but it seems like, I guess, it's just when you take Lamar Jackson and then you also got the Ken Walker. I just don't know what receiver would have been available at pick 61 that you would like on this squad that would fit in there better than a Ken Walker. I guess at the end of the day, like, I don't know what I would do differently.
Yeah, I mean, I think usually at that part of the board, receivers you're looking at like maybe Waddle, Olave, Juwan Jennings type
Juwan Jennings,
players.
take a look.
Um,
So Walker over Jennings, Addison, Adunze, Devo, Jerry Judy. I don't hate it because I think I probably prefer Walker and Kamara, and I typically take Kamara over Walker, but I probably like all of those guys better than this grouping. And if I had to just grab one of these receivers, it would be someone like Addison for the spike weeks, and he's just always been a touchdown guy, even with the suspension, whatever. Jennings somehow came out of nowhere and was actually good. And then Judy could just be the top, target on his offense. And so probably I'd lean those guys, but I can't hate you for going Walker there. It seems like
yeah,
you're able
I
to
think
pull it out.
I think he did it right too with
Yeah.
after those 2 picks, just
He hit it
hammer
hard.
receiver. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say, and I like all of these. Maybe Bateman's. I mean, it makes sense for the stack, so I also can't blame it there because it's like look at the wide receivers that go after him. You have 4, 5, 6, 7 wide receivers going in like the next 40 picks. So that's pretty crazy how flat it gets in this range with Bateman. So I don't hate that like you take Bateman at 109. He wouldn't have been there at 132 and you get your stack. So that's a fun way to play it.
When
The
you can
Drake
grab
London
Alec
AJ Brown
Pierce
build.
when you can grab Alec Pierce in the 10th round, you gotta do it.
That's the new code word for Rashad Bateman is just we'll just call him Alec Pierce and people are like, what? What are you talking about? Like expensive Alec Pierce. Just also doesn't average as many yards per reception, but pretty close, like 75% of the way there. It's hard for anyone to get even close to what Alec Pierce does. I mean, no one's catching 20 yards per reception. You're lucky to get 14.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think that team was solid overall, you know?
I
I
like it.
think they did it right for putting that kinda capital outside a receiver early.
It'll be cool. Spot advances 5 teams. It's going to be cool when literally all of our teams make it to the finals out of this group. We're going to look back on this one and be like, how did we all make it to the finals? Maroon was just that good. Some kind of pod luck. I don't know if that math's out, but it could just happen. Who knows? What do you say, Hartman? Are you're down for another one?
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Cool. It's Friday night. Let's keep them ripping, keep them rolling. Should we do 20 this time?
I'm cool with either one.
What do you guys think? I'll give the first like 5 or 3 to 5 responses we get in the chat. We're gonna do a quick vote: 20-second or 30 seconds for this next puppy. Kriyoth wants a 30. I could go either way. I'm gonna jump into the YouTube and close the poll, and then we can. Hell yeah, we can. Okay, let's do 30 seconds. 30 seconds entered now. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Waiting for 2, waiting for 1. We're going to fill it. 30 seconds now. The poll was number one thing to know for best ball tournaments. Hit the like, answer in the chat. I'm just here so I won't get fined. 30 votes. You know what's funny? I probably was seeing the answers in the chat to that poll question, and I forgot I even asked it. So there's no way I acknowledged the chat on any of those responses that was given.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, like with the polls, you just kind of forget it's even there, right? Especially with how this is like laid out. You forget the polls even in the chat.
You can't access the poll in StreamYard, and so I don't ever go to YouTube to actually see what's going on, like ever. Like it's very rare. So I forgot. I thought I asked a different poll question. So you guys are all answering in the chat. You're like, "What's the number one thing to know?" And you just like say it, and then I just like don't acknowledge it at all, or I just completely go the other direction. I'm like, I don't know what you mean there. I don't know what you're talking about. And you guys are like the poll. So let's see. We got
You
Steve made
you
it
asked the
in.
question.
Fantasy Dogs in here again. Gerardo, how you doing tonight, my man? Hope you're having a good one. And I don't know. Sorry if y'all other guys didn't make it in. You're trying to. It filled pretty quickly. It filled up pretty quickly for a 30-second puppy.
Big truckins in a lot of the chats. I'm not sure if I've seen them in here, but I see them in a lot of chats.
Later, Jason. Have a good one. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you in another draft real soon, my man. Yeah, Gerardo, how's it going? What's up? I saw you in the chat earlier. Definitely recognize Gerardo DFS every time I see it. So appreciate you being here, chilling with us, getting this draft in. You were saying the name you recognized was the big
Oh,
truckin'
Big
one.
Truckin'. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Off Night. I don't know if I've seen that one before. That's a pretty good name. Don't know what it means, but it just very concise. Off Night.
Yes.
Showtime. Lev. No idea. Not
Guy at
Steinway.
4. I like the name at 4.
Yeah, it's best balls in the game. So the names that are so long, it's hard for me to read it, but then I realized I could just look up Jack Burton 3000. Best balls in the game. Gibbs at 7. Someone's getting plus EV.
Oh,
Fantasy dog
Fantasy Dog
grabbing
going
neighbors
Neighbors.
early. You mad dog.
Eh, I
Crazy
don't
man.
I don't hate it. I could see
It's
I
fine.
mean, yeah, I can see the argument for Neighbors there.
I make it a very strong position that Gibbs is like probably the best pick in the first round. Not that I take him over everyone and I want the exposures, but I just think you can't go wrong.
Mhm.
I lean Amon Ra. Would you want to go Genty instead? Or are you cool with Amon Ra? Do you want to grab
Uh,
McCaffrey, Collins?
let let's grab a running back just because we've gone like 2 straight 0 RB. Let's try to do
Boom.
like a true like hero. Normally I would lean Amon-Ra, but I think you can make the debate for any of those guys right there.
I
And
can too. And I think soon enough, I don't know if McCaffrey flips Genty, but I think McCaffrey, as the summer goes on, and this tournament will be closed by then, but do we see McCaffrey piling up next to Bijan and Gibbs? I could easily see it happening. I mean, he's not going to fall down. Of course, people are getting him right now at pick 16, pick 15, 14, if you're lucky, any of those three kind of picks. But essentially, by taking him there, we're just kind of flipping the pick because maybe he'd come back around. I don't know. The receiver options to me are it's still going to be Brown, London, or McConkey that I'd want to pair him up with probably.
yeah, I
Um,
agree with that. I think we see
it's not that different. We're getting a little bit different. Take a stand on McCaffrey. Let's draft as if McCaffrey is RB1. So from here on out, we treat him as our anchor. We don't need to feel like, oh, what if he's hurt? Would you go McConkey or Brown?
I lean McConkey a little bit, but I'm okay with either one.
I'm cool with both of them too. I've got a bunch of both of them. I got a huge bag of Brown, uh,
Mhm.
and I'm cool with going McConkey there too. I think McConkey is. I don't know if the Chargers throw it enough, but he takes a step forward. That's very possible. He is, almost Jamar Chase. I think the step
Yeah,
that Jamar Chase took from 2023 to 2024, if you applied that kind of same step from what McConkey did in 2024 to 20 and use that as a 2025 next step, it'd be very similar to the 2024 Chase season. When caveat, when you factor in what he did against the Texans, because he only played 16 games, if you make his 17th game, that game against the Texans, that justifies him. The whole thing I was kind of hypothesizing or projecting out in a crazy way. All that to say is I don't think the situation with Ladd changed enough for him to be a pick I'm worried about, kind of like we were saying last draft, between what's more fragile, him as a pick or Achan. And then but I think the ultimate thing is, can Herbert ever do what Burrow does at that level to support that top wide receiver in that way? I don't know. So obviously it's kind of a super high ceiling outcome, but I just can see a path to it for McConkey.
yeah. Well, I think too with McConkey, it's just him being such a target dominant player, and then I don't know if Burrow or if Herbert can necessarily hit Burrow's passing touchdown numbers, but I think
Yeah.
the offense could be so efficient as a whole that the scoring opportunities could go up for the Chargers a good amount. I think the other thing that really impressed me with Ladd is his ability to win outside. He's not a locked in slot guy where he's so limited. He can win on the outside, he can win in the slot, he can, play all over the field at all levels. Um
This might be the funniest thing you've ever said. 8 hour slow but pick quickly. Would have been so funny because even if we tried to do that and imagine it was like +10, there'd be one guy in there and we'd all pick, and then it'd be like the guy in the 12 spot like is asleep, and we'd be like, ah. That would have been good.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. I
Did you?
think Overzet did something like that,
I was
right?
just gonna say
Like the
that. I know.
fastest slow
I
draft.
should know better than to ever question if you've seen something in the best ball streets. You're quite the chat rat. Yourself, you're in all of these chats. You're in all of these streams. You don't miss what's going on.
Oh yeah, yeah. I catch
And
it pretty much
that's
all.
non-derogatory. That's non-derogatory at all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like oh
Boom.
oh okay.
Uh, and you're like, what happened? Technical. No, I just had to adjust for a second. Been sitting for too long. Trey
Oh,
McBride at
gotcha.
32. Wow.
Wow, that's a crazy fall for him.
I know I think we go Adams or T Mac.
Um, I think I like the Adams value just a little bit more
Uh-huh.
because where we are, we might get T Mac in the 4th round still.
I would agree. I love Brees here. We're drafting as if
Yeah.
McCaffrey is the RB1 in the season. He puts up 20 to 24 points a game, fantasy points per game kind of thing. So like maybe McCaffrey Brees is like super strong if Brees also hits, but I think just from a structural standpoint, like I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but Devontae's a good pick there.
Yeah, I think we definitely could have went either way. And like I do think even though we're playing it like we're right with McCaffrey, if let's say like T Mac goes on this turn and we get Brees back, I think we can definitely go that route. I also agree. I love that pick.
Herbert going to throw for 4,000 this year. That'll be good. Just unsure on the touchdowns. I think we're all on the same page there. Steve was saying the defense could be worse. The high attempts. Okay. Interesting.
That's a good point, Steve.
Yeah, little did you know that the whole time I was stretching.
The army of chat rats.
Yeah, no, I say that affectionately. I say that non-derogatory chat rat. I think it's a fun little term of endearment.
Oh yeah.
Boo. Okay, let's see. DJ Moore makes a ton of sense for the bring back, and it's a value. I don't get a ton of DJ Moore, as you can see by my exposures. I took him last night in a draft with Meg on stream, so it's not in my current exposures because it's not updated. Anything else you'd want to do besides Moore? Do you want to pull up Hunter?
No, I like that pick. I'd go more.
Yeah,
I think with the correlation, we can kind of use that like a tiebreaker. Um, I'm okay with Hunter, but I think he might be just a little bit overpriced.
sure.
Um, I I'm okay with him as a pick though, where he goes. Uh, it it's just a little bit tough to see since he will be like, even with his talent level and all that, like he is a little undersized and he is probably behind like Brian Thomas and
Of
just
course.
Ken T-Law support two receivers at that level. Yeah, I think that's kind of the bigger concern people are overlooking with Hunter and Thomas is like the quarterback, can he support him? And maybe with Liam Cohen he can, but I don't know. I do think that is a little bit of a concern.
Um, that's a bunch of good valid points. That's a bunch of really good valid points. The only thing my mind comes back to is Travis Hunter's hands are like some of the best I've ever seen. He reminds me of Odell Beckham Jr., like the hands. So like that just lends itself to being touchdown upside. Even if let's imagine like some kind of like floor situation where maybe he has like for his price and for what we expect, maybe he only has like 600, 700 yards receiving. Who knows what that would mean? Like, I don't know, 50 to 60 catches or something. but he could easily just also have like 8 touchdowns and maybe a game with like 2 touchdowns. I don't know. Maybe I'm way off, but that then maybe he doesn't pay off perfectly at his price, but he still could be good enough. And maybe some of that comes late season or something. I don't know. I was also
Right.
laughing at myself. I was checking my phone because I don't really check my phone often, especially when I'm like streaming and we're drafting so much. But apparently, um, 36 minutes ago, my wife was in the kitchen and I was loudly talking about tight end is replaceable. And she texts me and says, tight end is not replaceable! Exclamation. I'm very disturbed by a comment that tight end is easily replaceable. Good night, heart emoji. Like, for added context, she's a big Taylor Swift fan and a big Travis Kelce fan, and so she takes offense to any disparaging comments on tight ends. So I don't. That's one of the funniest things she's ever texted me. Anything about like football at all. So I don't know. It's
That's pretty good.
tight end is not
There
replaceable. Apparently, that's something we yelled out 30 minutes ago, probably at the end of the last puppy. She caught on to that and was like, "What are you talking about?"
maybe Taylor Swift is actually good for football. It gets gets the
Yes,
wives into the game and stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
There you go.
a whole new demographic, no doubt. Let's see what's coming up here. I'm kind of curious. I haven't been peeking over here. There's no way. There's no way this happens. He's got to go wide receiver with his next pick, and he's going to do it.
Or I mean, also Hampton. Either way, I mean that's a big fall on him too.
It's a big fall on both of them. I was just trying to figure out like what looks wrong here. It's that there was both Hampton and Smith there. Is he going to time out?
Yeah.
He takes
Oh,
Kamara.
he didn't take either. Wow.
I feel like we have to do Smith because I don't think I've ever seen Smith fall this far, but I have seen Hampton fall this far. It's
Yeah.
just been a while.
Yeah, you're
Or do
right.
we do
You're right.
Hampton
Yeah,
since we
that's a
have
good
Lad
call.
and we make a bet on the Chargers?
I I think I'm with you on the Smith thing. I think just that value, you're never getting that value really. You
Yeah,
know,
I
you
think
can build Lad Hampton teams, but to get Smith at 57, you
that's true.
don't see that.
That's true. You can build Lad Hampton teams is because we took Lad a little bit early and typically
Mhm.
not like super early, but I've seen Lad go at pick 19. I've seen Hampton
Oh
go at pick
yeah.
54. I've never seen Smith go pick 57 to where we've lined him up, and we also made the case that all we need is McCaffrey to win. Now we do need to make sure our wide receivers are strong as possible because not Steinway is apparently listening but not joining the chat because he also went Gibbs and then took 5 really strong wide receivers. Or am I counting wrong? 4. He took 4. 4. He took 4
Or
really strong
yeah,
receivers. Um, I guess he couldn't take
exact
Smith
same
because
as
he
us.
felt
Yeah.
like he had AJ Brown and didn't want to double dip, but that's all I can justify. I guess Flowers is kind of a nice value. I don't know what's going on. What did we miss? Harvey went early. We missed that. So like otherwise, I don't know how these values fell.
Yeah. Walker went really early too.
Was that what it
Um,
was? So it'd be Addison,
yeah.
or we could do the Dunze to get the double stack with the Bears, and that gives us a Caleb, double stack could be nice. Otherwise, it's Travion or James Conner.
I'd probably go Dunze,
Yeah,
because we have McCaffrey, and then that gives us the Bears double, so that feels really good.
yeah.
And then we have a really strong wide receiver room in general.
You already know I'm a notorious Dunze hater. I loved Dunze coming
Oh
out of
yeah,
college. It's just because what he put down last year on the Bears was one of the worst, seasons. He was overhyped, overpriced, and didn't pay off. And then you have guys in his class who are like round one talents now with round one, round two with BTJ, Lad, Neighbors, and then even Marvin Harrison, even though he was considered somewhat disappointing, is still highly priced. Odunze was right in that range with those guys, drafted ahead of a few of them. And, you know, I feel like part of why Odunze goes pick 64 is because people are still hedging on like it's average draft position. But I think a lot of the community is like, Yeah, this is where he would go if we still think he hits what his potential was last season that he never hit, and we maybe only a little bit factor in what he actually did, and we're just all high on the Bears. So I mean, I'll get off my like soapbox, but I think Odunze in my ranks, I've got him ranked in like the 80s range or something, like the mid late 80s. I'd have to double check my exact spot, but like I need a reason to take him, and it's in a build where we already have 4 wide receivers, and he's our wide receiver 5, and he's a bring back with McCaffrey, and we can double stack with Caleb. Like all of those things have to come together for me to feel good about justifying taking him at 64. And really, his ceiling's probably some like his best case scenario. He probably pays off being picked at like pick 55 or something, because like he's not going to have a better season than Cortland Sutton. It's just like not possible. Like Calvin Ridley, there's nothing that he showed last year that would indicate that he could have a better season than guys who are de facto wide receiver ones on teams and have a history as a veteran receiver, like with good fantasy output. So like I'll stop there, but everyone likes
Yeah,
to do today for
I
me.
think kind of like I'm more neutral on Odunze, but I think the thing with him is just like when you go kind of with like the route run rates, or you go with like uh kind of kind of like the reception perception type stuff. Like, Matt Harmon spoke real highly of him, and like his win rates against like man look really good. And we do expect the Bears offense to kind of leap forward, especially when we're taking 2 Bears receivers. Um
Yeah.
I I kind of think that's the bull case for him. It is a little hard. He's one of those guys you got to project a little more, right? You got to hope that the talent wasn't the wrong bet last year. And there was a lot of dysfunctionality, just that offense, just the timing. Um, and he was a little bit of the third receiver, like just with their offensive system wasn't great. The offensive line wasn't great. Maybe he could be a better, like deeper down the field target with more time to throw and everything with better offensive line play. But I
Yeah.
definitely get what you're saying, where it was a really disappointing rookie season.
Yeah.
But he's also gotten really good coach speak lately. Like, I mean, Ben Johnson's talked
True.
him up. The wide receiver coach talked him up a lot.
Right.
Uh, you know, and I think that's about as good as you can get for a guy like that. But I do understand that you're definitely like projecting it quite a bit to hope that he hits a ceiling.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, and I won't even go there, but Michael Penix Jr. is the truth. If we see Polk fail, if we see a Dunze fail, if we see McMillan be a one-hit wonder, it was Michael Penix the whole time.
Mhm.
That could be very easily true. And Michael Penix is just good, and we see like he replaces Kirk Cousins, all that kind of stuff. Okay, Quinshawn is there, and it's past ADP where it's pretty
Yeah.
enticing. And we obviously could stop at wide receiver. Any reason to take Hawkinson, or any reason to go with Golden or Reed?
I think I lean Quinshawn. I think there's a big drop off after he's gone. When I was looking at their running backs, I think a couple of the guys that go after him might
100%.
already been taken. Yeah. Yeah, because there wasn't even, like, Pollard still available, nothing like that. So that
Yep.
was, like, a really big drop off.
You mentioned that uh, Walker went early, Mixon went relatively early, Harvey definitely went early, and in this one we were looking for a DeAndre Swift or a Pollard. Pollard had just gone. We kind of just missed on that one, and then DeAndre Swift went super early. So this is a very
Oh, yeah.
interesting puppy room where in the last draft we kind of had the chat controlling a lot of the positions, and I think we drafted just kind of typical best ball bro structural teams pushing tight end kind of thing. Now we have some other new entrants in here, and guys who are maybe we're not as familiar with, best balls in the game, taking DeAndre Swift to pick 69. That's pretty ballsy, if I will say that. And then wow, the big trucking goes Mahomes and Mayfield after. I thought he had Worthy and then Evans, so that makes a lot of sense actually. And he doesn't have a single running back yet.
Yeah. Huh.
True
Yeah, that's
zero
a
RB bro.
I mean, I don't hate that double tap, though, when you have them both stacked like that. Not a bad play.
True. What up, Diego? How you doing on this Friday night? This is a 30-second puppy that we got ourselves into. It's our second puppy, our third draft of the night. Me and Hartman here. What should we do with this one, Hartman? Is it a B-Rob team? Is it a Pacheco team?
I mean,
Is
I
it
think we
Mooney?
could even go Hawkinson, Mooney.
Hawkinson? You want to pull the trigger on
Oh,
Hawkinson?
uh, we could go Mooney. Oh, sorry.
I thought about Mooney for a second
Hawkinson's good.
there.
I like Hawkinson
I
because
thought about Mooney
we have
because
Lad, right? Or
um
not Lad, because we have Devontae. I mean, like the
no,
Atlanta way,
yeah,
right?
no, yeah, definitely. I was just thinking through about like the buys and what else we could cook up.
Oh,
I think
that would
I
actually
think
been tough on the buys.
yeah, in a weird way, because don't the Falcons? They're also week 5, and then
Yeah, yeah.
in a weird way, like I'm cool with passing Mooney there, where I usually love to take him. I don't take as much Hawkinson. I think, oh man, should we have just grabbed Caleb? Probably not.
No, I mean, I think his ADP should line up pretty well with our next pick.
You just
Um,
never know in this room because look how many
yeah,
guys don't have QBs. Uh,
yeah.
not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If half of them take a QB in the next one of their next 2 picks, that'd be 2.5 QBs going. I don't know if this
We
means
still do
anything, but
have
just
Herbert.
there's a
We still
50-50
do have
chance Caleb
Herbert
Williams gets
available.
drafted before our next pick based on my made up math.
Yeah, right there.
And he goes,
There you go.
I literally called it. Oh, we should have. I mean, we don't need him though. Okay, hey, you get sniped at QB. Thank you. Now we have an out with Brock Purdy. We could easily take Justin Fields. I don't think we have a connection to Bo Nix. And
Yeah,
who else?
that was my bad. I was thinking we were still a little early for.
No,
I
we
was thinking
were. I
Caleb
mean,
was safe till the next round,
pick
but
88
it
is early
was
for
playing
Caleb.
well.
Like we weren't in the right spot to take him.
Yeah, on the long side of the board, but I mean, we do have a lot of outs on this team because we do still have Herbert. Obviously, we can get Fields.
No doubt.
Um, yeah,
No, I think we're
yeah. I
still
mean,
good. Even Stafford late is totally fine on this one if we end up pushing QB past our next pick or two. But
yeah, yeah. Oh, uh the team right next to us, the one with the green icon. Can we look at
yeah,
their team for just a second?
yeah, of
I
course.
thought they had an interesting build cooking.
Where did Addison end up? Yeah, 77 for Addison. Steve got him there. Maybe that's somewhat suspension risk. Who knows? You were saying the team Show Me Blev, Showtime Blev.
Yeah,
I hate how it does that. Every time someone picks, it goes back to my team. Let me scroll through it. I don't know why it does that. I think in the desktop they should fix that, or it stays on the team you select. But he took Puka and then McBride at 32. Like wow, Achan, James Cook, Kamara, Laporta. I don't know why he took Laporta if he had McBride. So this guy's not a very sophisticated drafter. No offense if you're in here, and I don't mean that in a weird way. Or mean way. I just kind of like it came out, but that's what the indication I get if you take Laporta above ADP after getting a slide on McBride that you might not be building a structurally sound team when your wide receiver 2 is Ayuk, who could miss the first 6 weeks of the season. Son of a bitch, he takes Brock Purdy. I hate this guy now.
you must have been listening. You didn't
Yeah,
like
he's doing
that.
it to spite us.
Uh,
No, it's all right. We could
so
go
probably
Harris and
just
then come back with
Herb.
Herbert,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
would you
That's a
prefer
great call.
down
Yeah,
because of the the 10, 12 pick value? You think Harris is better?
I think Harris to get the double. I like the Harris double there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I do get what you're saying with the downs value, but I think we spent our first wide receiver pick on the Chargers, so I think trying to build the double and then lock it up, I think that's a good play.
And I'm just queuing up every running back under the sun because I don't think we go Goff in any situation here. Man, we didn't get Purdy or Caleb. That's kind of disappointing, but we'll pull it off. I mean, We could even do something with JJ McCarthy if we had to. Absolutely had to. I think we're gonna get Herbert though. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of a brutal range for us for the quarterbacks. Like,
Yeah, that
that
happens.
long turn, they just all got ripped off quick.
Fantasy Dog is the number one Dak fan, even when he doesn't get. I guess he got Pickens, so that makes a lot of sense. Nah, I take it. I mean, you are a pretty big Dak fan, it seems like, Fantasy Dog, but it's justified. I rank Dak very highly. I don't think there's any reason why Dak shouldn't be in the range you took him. Obviously, we go Herbert here, right? Or is there any running
Yeah,
back
yeah.
that we'd feel worth taking and then keeping to push Herbert? Our
I
next pick's
mean,
129. It's just past Herbert's ADP. I feel like it's too risky. What do you
yeah,
think?
I mean, I would probably lean Herbert, but we can go Charbonnet if you want.
Nah, I'm
If
not crazy. I think Charbonnet hit the touchdowns last season. Kenneth Walker was out. What if the Seahawks suck? Herbert
yeah.
secures this team from our plane can land with a Herbert, with a Charbonnet, and then no Herbert. This maybe we don't land this plane.
Yeah, yeah. That is a good point. And especially this kind of turn, there's a lot of people that maybe are building not maybe not a lot, but a couple people are building a little more questionable. Can't be as sure what they're doing. Um, oh yeah, don't tell them, coolers. Can't be giving away the secrets now.
Just say he sucks, man. FK, I just can't do it. That's Monday nights, 8:30 p.m. Central. That's when I'll be getting ballsy. I'll call someone out. And if you, I mean, you guys have already heard, but the show's going to be on Bindle's channel this week. We got Bindle's channel in the description. We got Hartman's channel right here. Everyone in the chat, you got to be subscribed to Hartman's channel. Obviously, you like what you see. The guy knows ball. He's out here drafting with us all the time, and he's putting some streams out. So go check him out. Make sure you're subbed. Make sure you're subbed to Bindle's channel in the description. He's popped in and out. Pretty sure he went back to the gym in between coming on and saying hey, and then worked out for 2 hours, and then said, "Wow, you guys are still on. Hey, what up?" And then he's probably back at the gym again. Tino Bindles, and it's good. The show on Monday night is going to be on his channel this time. We were on my channel last Monday. Check that one out if you haven't seen it. Just getting into our new vibe, our new thing, and we're going to go on Monday night. I don't know yet if we're going to have a guest on Monday night. We've floated some ideas out there, and we're starting to put a little schedule together. So it could just be me and him on Monday, or the guest who we invited might pull through. So we'll see. And it's a dynasty and a best ball show. We have the dynasty expert and best ball bro, that is Bindles, and then you just have little old me. And so it's gonna be fun. It's Monday nights. It's gonna be ping ponging between my channel and Bindles, 8:30 p.m. Central. That's enough promo, but thought it's worth mentioning. If you're new here, if you're watching this later, look forward to that. Monday night's kind of a fun night. We're gonna do some NFL news recap, talk about our what's going on in our dynasty leagues, talk about what's going on in our best ball drafts, all that kind of good stuff. I'm excited about it. Look at how early Cam Ward goes. You can't tell me Herbert would have come back around, right? Like there's 0% chance in this room.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, and even Stroud, that's pretty early for Stroud. Like no
Quentin
fall at
Johnson
all
even
on
early too,
May.
right? It's like get guys you know their name.
Wow, yeah, and if you're taking Quentin Johnston early, I mean, they were probably mad we took Herbert.
Yeah,
Like
interesting.
if you're that in on Quentin Johnston, yeah, that's wild. Wow. Oh, thanks, Meg.
Got some shouts out. Yeah, with the homies in the chat. Appreciate y'all all being here, drafting with us. You know where to find it. You know what time it is. We're drafting best ball teams. It's hot best ball summer. Man, Tootin's going to make it back around. I'm not confident that he does. I'm also cool with ETN there. I've come around to the idea that ETN is a little bit uh, underrated,
Mhm.
where I was
Yeah.
probably too harsh on him about a week or two ago.
Um, I got my exposures look pretty similar to yours on those two, but I'm coming around a little bit. That being said, I probably still lean Tootin.
I know,
He
right?
can
We just take Tootin here, obviously, and then we would have been fine with ETN if
yeah,
we had to, but Tootin's the future, ETN's the past. Let's move on.
yeah, he can probably learn ball security over a whole summer.
He'll
I
figure it
mean,
out.
he'll figure out how to hold on to a
He's
football.
fast. He's got feet that aren't broken, and he hasn't taken like 1,000 hits in the NFL. So
I
all those
think
things going against ETN.
Cool Coolers had kind of a good question with where do you guys where do you guys
Yeah.
land on Bigsby? I think Bigsby's getting to the point like he could be a decent value bet just because he's fallen so far. Even though I don't love Bigsby, like he was actually decently efficient as a rusher. Where
Yes.
ETN just looks super inefficient as a rusher.
Yep.
It's getting harder to see him like take over a big role. Like I almost would rather bet on Bigsby at cost than ETN at cost at this point. Um, like I don't know if that's like a crazy take, but I just think with the cost discrepancy, I'd rather bet on Bigsby than ETN at cost.
Some good points. Some good points. I kind of whittle it down to ETN is the name brand value that people are stuck to. Also, you have like, playing at Clemson with Trevor Lawrence and the whole national championship or whatever, like that kind of sticks. Um, with Tank, like you said, he's the rusher. As Steve said, doesn't have the passing upside at all. And in a Liam Cohen offense, maybe you need that. Tootin is the future. We know that he's fast. We think that they like him a lot. When they miss out on RJ Harvey and they go Tootin. And then I guess the last part about that, man, if we had Mooney now, Penix would make sense. Would you take Trevor Lawrence with a Tootin stack and then do something crazy on the back end, or no? We just take Spears here.
Uh, I mean, I'm open to the T-Law pick. We don't really have any other stacks to get, so I mean, we could do that and then get like a Parker Washington, De'Ami Brown, like on
I'm
the
kind
back
of
end,
thinking
Brenton
just
Strange.
just a little value pick on a mid-priced QB who's got a good situation. Maybe we should have taken
Oh, McCarthy with
Travis
Hawk.
Hunter over DJ Moore at that point, but it's hindsight. Like you can't control these things.
Yeah,
I think with Tootin, it's not the worst connection to Lawrence. We could still grab a tight end, wink, wink. And then, although I kind of think he's overpriced. And then, like you said, Dimey Brown or Parker Washington late, I'm not out on them.
we could have went. So what do you think about? Should we have grabbed McCarthy instead, since we have Hawkinson? Because
Maybe.
I mean I'm not really in on McCarthy, but
I like McCarthy
we do have
fine.
maybe a little bit better stack.
Maybe. We'd have zero chance of ever getting a bring back for that week 17, though, because all of the lines are gone.
You haven't heard of Isaiah Tesla?
No, who's that?
No, yeah, no, that is true. Um,
Have you heard of
with this one,
hey,
it'll be a lot easier
hey
to
Hartman?
bring back.
Hartman, get ready to learn Tim Patrick, buddy.
Oh, I'm well aware of Tim Patrick. I mean, we
That,
could have got them both, 17, 18.
that's true. We could take both of them and just be like, hey, one of these guys is gonna do something. I mean, if Tim Patrick's healthy, although he never is anymore, and he's only ever had like one or two good seasons that weren't actually that good, but I feel for the guy. He was on to something for a while in the Broncos. I don't know. Maybe he's more important in fantasy than Tesla year one. The Tesla name kind of was funny because it
Yeah,
came out of left field. People were like whispering about it during the big board. And then when he gets drafted in the third round, all of a sudden he's relevant.
yeah. Oh, he was relevant to me pre-draft. To
You're just a
me,
big
he was
you're
always
a big Razorback fan.
yeah. Well, I saw that Raz, and that was all I needed to see.
Is the
No,
mullet.
yeah, yeah. No, I do agree. I mean, I don't think he'll really do much as a rookie. I think he's okay to mix in if he got the correlation, but he might have a hard time even seeing the field. But with T-Law, it is really easy to backstack him and that game. So I do kind of like that pick, even if we have like a smaller amount of correlation, it'll be really easy to stack.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. And then to Steve's point, he ends up getting the Addison McCarthy connection. So that was pretty nice. And I guess he had, was it Hunter that he had earlier? I didn't see.
Did
Yeah, obviously
he?
it was
He didn't
Hunter,
get
right?
Jefferson, did he? Yeah, he must
Jefferson,
have got Hunter.
no Jefferson, but
Oh,
he
no,
had
okay,
Addison
Jefferson
and
went at 3.
Hunter. So he was in a good
Oh,
spot. And then he already had Knicks with his Cortland Sutton, which I like that connection too. I want more of that
yeah, that's a good stack. I think
for sure.
Nick could be a little bit undervalued too where he goes.
I
I
was
think
thinking that, and then during the big board, people were saying Knicks was overpriced, and I was like, "What do you mean? He just had like an incredible rookie season. He's got the rushing upside. He seems like he's got it all going. The Sean Payton offense. They invested in RJ Harvey, one of the best offensive lines. Like it all seems, and then one of the best defenses. What could you not like about Knicks? I need to get more. I need to just trust my gut a little bit more on that one. Of course, Steve gets Isaiah
Mhm.
Likely. I think that's a great pick there. Britton Strange goes for no reason to the one spot, so we kind of got hosed on that one. I'll say pick 153. Is it running back time? Spears is still there.
I think so, yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, especially if Spears is there, yeah. Yeah,
I'm just
Spears.
gonna
Oh,
snap
there goes
pick him, but
Stafford.
let's just do a quick once over on the wide receivers. I don't see anything I like there.
Yeah, not really. I mean, and yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, Spears easy pick.
You're pretty in on Ray Davis though too, right?
Yeah, I like Ray Davis where he goes. I like the value.
Yeah.
I
I think
I
he's just
think
good, and I want to get more Ray Davis. I feel like I just for some reason I don't have enough.
I think my problem with Ray Davis is I always end up picking usually Spears wouldn't be there, but I usually would pick Spears over him. But I
Yeah,
like a lot of Rashad White and Algier.
I
I have
know.
like a lot bigger bags with those guys.
I have too much
And there's
Rashad
nothing
White
against Ray
in
Davis.
Algier. I need to get more of
Ray Davis, yeah.
yeah. And I have a lot
Yeah.
of Eckler too, as
And
you can see.
oh
Like
yeah. I'm same way. I have a ton of Eckler. I think that's the thing with Ray Davis. It's just the guys that go around him. It's not really him. Um,
true.
oh, yeah. Yeah, and like I think with him too, it is a little concerning just that like he'll get playing time probably, but they do also use their third running back with Ty Johnson. Even if he's not totally
Yeah,
like fantasy relevant, he does get a lot of passing down work, so
that's very
it
true.
kind of hurts Ray Davis.
And some red zone work a little bit. But Ray Davis was a good pass catcher too. Just like you said, Ty Johnson's there. Where do we go with this one? We don't need the running back. Do we go back to wide receiver? It's not looking great.
Um,
We could grab Pierce and just say we know Ball or even Thielen. What do you think?
I mean Pierce, I heard he should be going in the 120s.
Okay, I'm
I
sold.
mean, yeah,
I thought about doing Pitts for a
yeah.
second, but it's just not as strong of a connection to get something Pitts and Adams. Like that doesn't really do it for me. To get Pierce with our Trevor Lawrence and Bashal Tootin stack, just that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
shoot! You
Exactly.
know what? I just realized we don't have a single Texan either, but I know one way we can fix that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a certain rookie.
Potentially a certain rookie. I think there's a few Texans left.
Or a tight end, right.
Yeah, the rookie's gone. Well, there's one certain rookie.
Oh no, I was thinking of the
No.
rookie that's still there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I won't. Mim's the word. Mum's the word. Let's see
Yeah.
what's going on over here. Uh, hard to fade Brad Holmes draft picks, but he did not in college. What that kind of goes over my head. Do you know Hartman what career I was talking
Tesla.
about?
He's talking about Brad
Oh,
Holmes, the Lions
Tesla.
GM.
That
Yeah.
went over my head. I don't know why I couldn't think of the connection there. I've got a friend in my I've mentioned it before. My redraft league, we're in like year like 17 or 18. It started when we were freshmen in high school, and we do like the Labor Day weekend reunion every year. We go to destination, we draft a redraft, 10-team league, half PPR scoring, super flex, which is kind of cool. We switched over to that maybe like who knows 7-8 years ago, whatever. And then the other
Mhm.
component is it's an auction draft. And I don't know, all that to say, one of the guys in there with us went to Arkansas, which is not that crazy, when you live in Texas that like you might go to Arkansas for college, even though some people would like never even fathom that because Fayetteville is kind of, meh. But and if you're from Fayetteville, you would know, so you wouldn't take offense to that. But he's like a big Razorback, Woo Pig Sooie, all that stuff. And he's been talking about Tesla. So the only reason I even had Tesla on my radar was because he had mentioned him kind of during college football in the last season. But he was actually talking about Armstrong more than Tesla.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean Armstrong did outproduce him, and no one's picking him, so it doesn't paint the greatest picture for Tesla. I think the only thing that makes people like kind of bullish is, obviously the athletic profile and just the fact that he went so high and they gave up draft picks to get him. But in such a crowded like room, it is pretty tough to see him having a path to produce as a rookie in like a meaningful way. Um,
True.
someone should take Kyle Pitts so we don't
Yeah,
have
take
to.
Kyle Pitts so we don't have to.
Yeah. Wow, that's a crazy bet. Is that 30 picks on Kyle Pitts?
33 picks. And we're going to look at the ADP draft capital, value curve right after we make this Kyle Pitts pick. And maybe once it goes past it again to the long side of the board, we have to get Pitts, right? Like, when else do you draft him?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of interested. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean at that value cuz we need a tight end anyway.
We need a tight end.
Yeah, let's just grab Pitts.
We could be done with those two. We also get like I said, with the last pick we almost made, we get a small bring back with Adams, which I wasn't crazy about, but it makes enough sense. And the running backs have flattened out to us a point where it's like we can just draft J.K. Dobbins for like the 20th time. I don't think we should, but we could.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not Dobbins this time just cuz
Or maybe just one
we
more
have so much.
Dobbins. What could go wrong?
Eh, yeah, yeah. I mean,
No, I
hey,
don't know.
don't get me wrong, your Dobbins percentage is probably right about the same as mine.
I
So,
know. It's
so
it's somewhat
I'm not
concerning,
hating
but
on the pick at
also
all.
when it hits and we're right and he's on the Cowboys or he's on the Bears or he's on the Commanders, it's just going to be like, read it and weep, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
Well, and
laying
that's
down
the
like
thing
a
too,
pocket
like
aces.
even if he signs in a less advantageous spot, like he's still probably going to move up a decent amount. So you're still getting that CLV value on him most likely. I mean, there is always the risk he doesn't sign or whatever, but I feel like that's fairly low with him. But tough to say. You are taking more of a risk with that pick.
Teslas. Is that a play on words? Steve's calling him ass. Teslas. Tesla. I don't know. Yeah, stop hating Steve. Oh no, you already caught up with that. I'm behind. I'm the one out of the loop. Okay, so as fate would have it, Dobbins is there. We do need a running back. We don't have to take a running back. We can push it. We've got 3 picks remaining. We have a 2-4-7-2 build. We're going to take a wide receiver for the Jaguars. It's just, do we do it here now, or do we push them because no one else is going to do it by our next pick anyways?
I think we could push the receiver because we're okay with getting either one of them.
And they're going to be there at pick 201. They both should be there anyways, right? So then it's a
Yeah, and
running
at
back
least one of
question.
them should.
Do you ever draft any of those guys over Dobbins?
I sometimes take Marshawn Lloyd over him. That's kind of more like a personal preference, but I definitely can see Dobbins over Lloyd also. Those are probably the two I'm looking at the most are Dobbins or Lloyd.
All right, chat. We are 3 for 3 on Dobbins' team. You know what that means? Or you don't. I don't know what that means. I think we're just a little bit crazy, actually. I wish I had like a
I thought
clip.
you were about to have a Dobbins clip or something.
I know. I wish I had a Dobbins clip. I don't think I've got clips for any of the players that we've drafted on this squad. So you guys are lucky.
Well,
I
see,
told
exactly. That's why you have someone on. It gets you off your normal picks, right?
Yeah. You and I think way too similarly. I think we're on all the same picks. Well, you got me on a
Yeah.
Doomsday, so bravo to you. It's probably my first Doomsday pick since the big board.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I never lined up to grab Ricky. That
You
was
got,
the one I was hoping to
no,
get you to
Meg made
take.
me get Ricky last
But,
night. I don't know if you saw that.
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
All right. All right. So you're
and
you're getting there.
I think I don't remember if we also got Purdy. I think it was I think we did get Purdy. I think it was Purdy. All these drafts run together in my head. After the draft's over, I
Yeah.
instantly forget what happened. I have it labeled though. We could look it up. It was a BBM 6. I think it was Purdy, Pearsall, and Juwan Jennings. I think.
Hmm.
I think so. We could look at it. Oh, let's look at the draft capital curve. Instead of playing a clip with super
Oh yeah.
loud music and booming bass, 144 to 177. I'm going to venture and say it's not the best one we've gotten tonight because it's just so late in the draft, but it's going to be good because we got 10% on that Murray, and I don't think we're going to be able to beat that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it'll beat that because it's a little
It
bit
can't beat it
later.
because once you get to 144, it's only worth 10%, so it couldn't go to 0. So 10.6 goes to 7.1. So we literally only got 3.5% of a Jamar Chase out of that pick, which like it's underwhelmingly small because these are all $1 auction bids. So in reality, we gained almost nothing by getting Pitts 30 picks past ADP, if you can believe it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not super surprising, but I think like when you look at it in the context of how the board went, like the tight ends after him have a lot more question marks about like actual playing time and being replaced. Where even if we don't really believe in Pitts as a player as much anymore, he's probably still going to be on the field a lot, running a lot of routes. So I think he gives us that ability to stop at 2, where if we would have got a guy after him, then maybe we still would have had to go with 3. So I think kind of the value is it gives us that extra roster spot to maybe get in some of that Jaguars correlation, like stuff like that is maybe where like his real value comes from.
That's a good point. I'm a little sad that we forgot about Dalton Schultz, but not that sad because I mean he's not that good. And the only
Yeah.
reason is because it would give us a nice bring back for our Chargers, and we've got one of our picks locked up between Brown or Washington, and it could be both. I don't think it should be both. I think it should just be one of them. Do you have a lean
Mhm.
between Brown, who was never good but looked good in the playoffs, with a completely different quarterback, or Parker Washington, who looked serviceable for filling in for Kirk for just a little bit and is younger?
I mean, maybe Washington, he might just get a little bit more playing time with his like archetype, but
Should we take
I
Marks or Lloyd first?
uh I would lean the receiver first.
Let's grab.
Okay, yeah,
I
we got
chose Washington.
Washington.
I just like Washington better. I think I kind of put my finger on the scale there, and put you in a tough spot to
That
make a
was who I was
choice.
leaning to.
It
That was
could
who
be
I was
either
leaning to
one,
is
right?
Washington.
I'm gonna do a
I
little
I
depth
think
chart research.
Washington
Yeah,
I think just because because he's primarily a slot player, right? So, like
with
is that
Parker
correct?
Washington, he's a slot receiver, so he's gonna be behind Travis Hunter.
Right, and maybe with Hunter not playing 100% of snaps immediately, like, maybe Parker Washington has a path to a little bit more playing time than De'Ami Brown. I mean, I guess it's tough. They both could play because De'Ami could play at the other outside spot.
Yeah, I guess they
Does
have it
Hunter
slotted.
is Hunter a slot only, or is he kind of a
I don't
mixed
think he's
player?
slot only.
I know he's smaller.
He's decent.
Um,
He's like 6 foot 185 or something. He's not too small. If I remember correctly, off the top of my head, like I
yeah,
don't
so Travis Hunter
know. So I
at
think
Colorado, he only played
uh-huh.
5% in the slot. So,
Is that right? Because
I think
I'm
maybe,
I'm
like,
looking at
Parker
our
Washington
lads. So you're probably right though. He probably plays more outside and plays
um,
where Miami plays.
I think I think so.
I thought
Um,
he was an outside receiver, but I literally just pulled up our lads depth chart and they have him as the slot receiver. But this could be completely wrong. I guess it's the middle of the offseason. So
um,
I would
okay,
lean
so
Marks here. I don't think we need the other receiver. And then I'm kind of surprised that all of Hunter and Lloyd both went, but I think it's just Marks and then we're done, right?
yeah, definitely. I think Marks. That gives us another Texans piece as a bring back, and then I think we
Our
need a
only
running
Texans
back
piece.
anyway. Yeah. Oh, right, right, that's right.
But
Yeah.
you were gonna give us a little bit of information on Hunter. You think because that does ring true to what I remember watching him play. Is he's an outside receiver. Uh, I don't know. And you're saying he didn't play a lot of slot. That makes sense. I just googled it based on one resource, and they had him in the slot. Maybe that's just some kind of weird wish casting, or they just didn't know where to put him. But that would make me think. Then yeah, Parker Washington gives the slot role. Parker Washington was always a backup for Christian Kirk, so that's kind of how that lines up.
So PFF. So I'm just going off the college stats, but
Okay,
in college, like last year, it has Hunter playing 714 offensive snaps.
okay,
And then 115 of them were in the slot. So I think he might be a little bit more of an outside guy, even though he is a smaller player. So that might give Parker Washington maybe a better chance to see the field than like Diami in 3 wide receiver sets, like would be kind of my thought process. I don't know if that would
that
be a
makes
good way
sense.
to think about it or not.
That makes sense. Plus, they brought in Diami before they drafted Hunter, and maybe they were just hedging on maybe they don't get the receiver they want in like the first round and they don't get Hunter. Now that they have him, everything they ever thought about potentially doing with Diami could go out the window. Parker was already there, and yes, it's new coaching, so a lot can change, but Diami Brown's never been good. He had a
Yeah.
good playoff run. He had a good 2 or 3 weeks with 2024's breakout rookie of the year, Jaden Daniels, Heisman winner. Now he's playing with Trevor Lawrence. It's completely different, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I I mean, yeah, I don't think between those two you can have an insanely strong take about which one's better. You know, you're going for the third receiver on the team, but I just think that like I would slightly lean towards maybe the younger guy who could, maybe could have a little bit of juice, could do a little bit of something.
I'm just catching up with the chat and they're like, what do you think about Dobbins? Well, Diego, we have drafted Dobbins on 3 out of 3 teams tonight, and my exposure has now gone from 17.8% Dobbins to quick math. It's going to be like 25% Dobbins at this rate, something like that. Maybe 23%, 24. But I guess we're just really in on Dobbins because he was good last season, and nothing's nothing is indicating that he's going to be worse of a talent. We just are uncertain where he's going to land, and we've always learned this. We've learned this lesson over and over again. Just when you think something's priced in best ball in these ADP markets, it never is. It's never priced in. We always double count as a whole. So the fact that J.K. Dobbins isn't on a team is why he's going in round 16. The minute he lands on a team, he's going at pick he's going in round 13. And if he lands on a good team, he's going in round 10. And that's kind of the trajectory.
Right.
There's not a situation where he goes to round 18 or undrafted because he's going to play for somebody, even if he doesn't sign until week 1 or 2, which would be incredibly weird. But actually, no, then he's on the Chargers because he's tendered, right? So then he's a Charger. And even then, it's a triple-headed monster, but
I think
J.K. Dobbins is good enough to get work.
I think the Chargers would be the only spot I can see where that's like a bad outcome.
It's like
But
the worst
even then, you're
outcome.
picking him in round 16. It's not, he's still on a team. He still has a chance at contingent value. And that's all these guys are back in this range. So it's still not the worst, but that would probably be the worst case.
That makes
But I don't
sense.
think the Chargers would have tendered him if they don't believe he's getting signed somewhere. And I would just be surprised if Dobbins would want to go back somewhere where he's not going to get much work if he has a chance to actually get work somewhere else.
True. True. And that's another good point is like, yeah, he's free as we figured out, like after pick, 140, these are all about the same value. So
Mhm.
going back to that Pitts point, that just I keep reaffirming my stance that it's like a $1 auction bid after pick, one late 130s, early 140s. You almost should always reach up a little bit to complete your stack with a QB or whatever you need, whether that's taking Bryce Young a round or two early or Matthew Stafford around early or Geno Smith, it's like it's almost always worth it. Like 9 out of 10 times, the value you're going to give up by missing out on a Ray Davis or an Eckler or one of these tight ends and then just getting a replacement guy a round or two later is like it's so worth it to get the QB because QB is the only position where you can't directly like you can replace the points, but you can't directly replace what you need structurally. Like, you know what I'm like kind of get what I'm saying is like, all right, if you need the Bryce Young stack and you don't reach and you try to push him and then you don't get Bryce Young, but you built out T Mac and maybe you have Chuba Hubbard as well, and you already have Ken Walker and you've got this big, game stack, but then you miss Bryce and then you end up having to get like a QB that doesn't make sense for your team. You're kind of screwing yourself a little bit versus like anyone else in this range. Just replace him with the guy a round or two later, and it's what's the difference?
Right, right. Like, what's the difference between if you get Adam Thielen or Wandale Robinson? Like, you know,
Well, let's not go
similar
that far.
player for
Wandale
player.
Robinson's pretty bad, but
He gets targets though. Target earner.
point per target league.
Yeah, point per target. Hey, it's half PPR, isn't it? But,
Yeah, cut those points in
but-
half.
Yeah,
We need touchdowns.
yeah.
We're looking for touchdowns.
maybe not. Yeah, maybe not the best example, but
No, I'm messing with you.
I definitely agree with that. Where like, especially if you have a young stack, a Geno stack, like, what do you really win when you push them? Like, yeah, it makes total sense. I think,
Yeah.
kind of where we got boxed out a little bit at quarterback, I think it's still early enough where the value is like where we kind of lost out on Caleb and Purdy. I think the
Yeah.
value that we got instead of that,
It's worth
it's
it.
debatable. Yeah, I think it is worth it there, but
It's close.
yeah, because
But we have
that
the
stack
Herbert
is a
double
big
stack.
part.
We missed out on the double stack for the Bears. We missed out on Purdy, which would have just been the other piece of that. And we still got the double stack with Herbert. The Trevor Lawrence thing worked out just fine enough. We took our favorite player 40 picks past his eventual ADP. So actually, I can't say that. Dobbins is our favorite player. Pierce is just, kind of the guy that we should draft even more of. I don't know. The chat was
If
pretty in on
Dobbins is
Pierce
a
too.
cowboy
Everyone
or
was
bear,
also excited about Pierce, so we're on to something.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
No. Yeah,
that's
Steve.
been
Thielen is good. Thielen is good. Don't get me wrong. I agree with your Thielen take. I think Thielen's ageless. He's a scratch golfer. What can't the guy do? He came out of nowhere, made it into the NFL. Thielen is the truth. I was just shitting on Wandale Robinson because anytime you have a season where you get 140 targets and you don't have 1,000 yards and you don't produce in fantasy, I'm out on you forever. So I'm out on Wandale Robinson. I'm out on Evan Ingram. There's maybe like one or two other players who have ever done that in
didn't
history, been so inefficient.
he didn't even have 700 yards. Wandale.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
let's fact
140
check
targets,
because
699.
Wandale. I was more on Wandale before he put up 140 targets. I had higher hopes for him when he's only putting up 78 targets. The fact that you go 140, 93, and 699 and 3 is like so abysmal that I'm pretty much done with you forever. And then Evan Ingram did that a couple years ago on the Jaguars. Although he almost got to 1,000, it's almost respectable, and it looks good from like a total kind of season output scoring wise. It just leaves so much to be desired. Like going forward, if that's going to be his high mark, he's never going to see those targets again. I mean, Evan Ingram at
Yeah,
least
well,
though,
and just
a
with
veteran.
as high as Ingram goes, like, I don't really think he's gonna see the target volume to pay that off on Denver.
There's no
And he's
way.
never
There's
really been
no
much of
way.
a red zone guy either.
Uh-uh.
Like, he's just, I don't know how true that is as far as like a guy never really being a touchdown producer, if that like actually holds, but
Right.
he's been in the league for a while and he's never really been a big touchdown producer, a big red zone threat.
To
And he was
take
more of an athletic kind of speed tight end, and it's later in his career.
Yep.
Like, he's not really a bet I'm liking much this year.
I can't imagine a world where I draft Evan Ingram ahead of Mark Andrews or David Njoku or even like some of these other guys. Like I think Evan Ingram should be going at or later than Jake Ferguson, Goddard, Tyler Warren. I'm more excited about because maybe he's actually just like the truth because we know he's talented. He's just in a bad situation.
Yeah, I think Evan Ingram, right, with like Strange, Kincaid, Ertz, I think that would be a more
Appropriate.
appropriate range.
I
The
think so
upper
too.
end of that range,
I
but
probably
yeah.
need to rank him that way. I think I'm just a little bit more tethered to ADP because my rankings are very tethered to ADP in general, where I don't take many. I assume the market is directionally correct, and then I only really fade a player 1 or 2 rounds at the most.
Mhm.
But I bet you I could move Ingram back to like what we're actually thinking. I'd never get him, and I still don't get him anyways. So I don't know if it functionally matters, but uh, I do want
I
to get
think
more Bo Nix.
he's a guy I really only look at on, like, Bo Nix teams. Like,
Yeah,
that's kinda just my take on Ingram is, like, I'll bite the bullet on him even though I don't like him on Bo Nix teams sometimes because maybe that is the week he gets 2 touchdowns or a touchdown and a big catch or something, it could happen. But just on his own as a tight end, I just don't really see how he beats many of those people that go around him or even, like you said, after him.
that's true. Yeah, it's funny. We're all Thielen fans. We all hate Wandale. This is the chat for you guys. This is the right. You're safe here. Um,
Yeah.
Bryson, and I like his Lions pick in the profile pick too. That looks pretty sick. 50 BBMs in, big spender. Nice, nice. I think I'm like 25 in or something, but that's a good pace. If your edge is drafting early in the season right now, and you're 50 deep, that's pretty sweet. Thoughts on 50% Justin Fields? Hate the week 17 matchup, but love the value. It's hard to project the week 17 matchup this far out, right? They're playing the Patriots, I guess, because isn't it in Foxborough? Is that part of the reason? Is that I should know this one? It's Fields at May, or is it May at Fields? I've written this
Um,
down so many times. I feel like I should know it, and I've drifted. Let's pop over here. I'll get the quick answer. It is. I thought it would be quick. It's at home for the Jets. Okay, but I guess it's outside and it's cold. But at least the Jets are at home. I don't know if that makes a big difference on how I view the game script and like how that works out. But long answer short, like I'm weighing on Fields. I need to get my Fields exposure up even more. The crazy part is, and I've only got 20% Fields. The
mhm.
crazy part is I was less in on Fields like back in like March for some reason when he was the cheapest. And then as he's increased in price, I've realized my mistakes in my ways and I'm more and more in on Fields. But that's kind of like a lesson I've learned in best ball over the last couple summers. You want to chase players up. You don't want to chase them down. Like, oh, he's falling. It's a good value today on whatever player's falling. It's like, no, that like it's you want to chase him up. Like if a player goes from round 12 to round 8 to round 7, that's an indication you need to be drafting them at round 8 and 7 like still. But when they do the opposite, it means you need to stop drafting them essentially. Is kind of what I've learned a little bit from best ball. What about you, Hartman? What do you think about this Fields exposure?
Uh, I mean, I think 50% on a player is a lot, but you're only 50 drafts in. So I really like it. Fields is personally my most drafted QB. I have 30% of them so far.
Hell yeah.
Um, but but yeah, I to your point with the chasing players up instead of like fallers, I definitely agree with that. I think with Fields in the pre-draft, there was a little concern that they might draft someone like they might have been the Milrow team or something. I think that is something you got to factor in a little bit,
That's true. I
but
forgot about
because
that.
he wasn't the highest paid QB, and I think it's a little easy to look in hindsight and say, why didn't I take him a bunch then? But there was a lot more concern at that point, I think.
That's
Um,
true. I totally forgot about all those points. And then also, he didn't even sign with the Jets until we had already drafted a few teams, right? So like there was some landing
yeah.
spot questions. So that's probably what I'm like the hindsight of like remembering the situations each week for like 16 consecutive weeks, it's pretty hard to keep straight.
Yeah, but I mean Fields, like I'm 100% with that, like all in on Fields.
I did
55% Thielen.
I love it.
Wow.
I did write a note in my phone at the conclusion of week 17 last year that said no players in Best Ball Mania above 30% exposure. Um, and I've told this story before, but it's because I drafted 59 Nico Collins teams last year, which, hey, that's pretty sharp. Weighing on Nico, I was a top 10 Nico drafter in Best Ball Mania 5 until he missed 6 games with the freaking hamstring injury, until the offensive line had more penalties than any other offensive line, calling back multiple long touchdown passes that Nico completed when he was healthy. All that to say is like the injury risk is so real in football that even if your player take is 100% right, the injury risk can just tank you. So I think it's not too late though. Like Hartman was saying, 50% exposure at this time in the season. Yeah, you still have plenty of time. If you never drafted him again, you'd end up at 33% exposure. Still a little bit above like my made up line that I don't want to cross. But I think he's only going to get more expensive. I forget who I was
Well, no,
talking.
if you never draft him again, you only have like 16, right? Like 16%. Because you're at
Well,
50% of the
oh,
50.
no, you're way your level of math right now is so far ahead of mine. That's what happens at 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. Central. See, I can't get anything right anymore. No, you're right. No, he's like 16%. So actually you're in a perfect spot. And obviously you're going to keep drafting him. I forget who it was. I had someone on the channel in the last 2 weeks, and it may have even been Steve. I don't know. We'll have to check in, but I made a prediction that Fields was going to get drafted at or above Patrick Mahomes by the end of the summer. So for that, and Fields has kind of been like, he's honestly not been rising that much lately. So I don't know what it would take. Maybe we just realize how good he is at fantasy, or maybe like the trade news has propelled Dak up a little bit, or maybe there's somewhat of a barrier getting past Kyler, Bo Nix, and Williams. But I honestly still think that Fields could get into this 80s range, Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield range.
I could
I
definitely see that too with Fields and even Caleb too. I think just the hype on the Bears might
probably do it.
kind of get out of hand as the summer goes on, possibly. I do think maybe the more casual drafters though will keep Mahomes ADP in check, like keep him decently high up because he's Patrick Mahomes, right? Like you can't let him fall too far, especially maybe later in the summer when a little bit more of the casual crowd, redraft crowds in. That might keep him up a little bit high, but I I mean I definitely could see Fields rising, Caleb rising. I think Dax kind of already rose as much as he will, but Fields and Caleb, I could see those 2 rising quite a bit, or, like, relatively.
That's true. I just sent you a private chat to catch up with the chat here. Just wanted you to see that note. Um,
Oh, okay.
okay, yeah. So great question, Bryson. Appreciate you coming in, interacting with the chat. Hopefully, we answered that good for you. We spent a lot of time on it. I think that's a great question. And then Steve had a really strong response. Um, yeah, injury risk. Okay, we're all coming back to the same point. I hope
Mhm.
it's not too late. But Nathan, 10 minutes ago, Nathan asked, "But why on Thielen? I just don't get it." He's just good, and I think there's some things that are absolute. Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer. He's always just going to be good. If Mike Evans is healthy, he's going to score touchdowns. He's going to get the yardage. He's going to have big games. That's kind of like the other extreme. Like he's expensive. On the cheap side, you have guys like Thielen. He's always been good. He just like some players are just built different. They've always been a fantasy asset, and that's never going to change. The cliff will come eventually, and it will come sharply. Like even Randy Moss falls off, but Thielen just has this weird longevity where I don't know if it's because of he's a late bloomer or what's going on with like becoming involved as a full-time starter, but he's just always been good, and it doesn't seem like it's going to change. He's still getting paid a lot. They're not going to cut him. He's going to be a starter. He's going to start in 3 wide sets. It's going to be Thielen with T-Mac and Leggett and Thielen in the slot, I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. and then Coker's the one who gets squeezed out, and Coker's going to have to beat Leggett out again to get snaps. So I think that covers it. Thielen's always been a touchdown guy too, and that's something that's like you just have awareness, and you're just a professional football player. They like you in the locker room. The coaches respect you and like you, and you end up scoring touchdowns on the field during games because you're in the right place at the right time, and the quarterback trusts you.
And just a quick point on that too. I think a lot of us are projecting the Panthers to improve as an offense overall, and
Sure,
Thielen won't be the main target. So, that might be a little bit softer coverage. Maybe that kind of prolongs his career, prolongs his efficiency a little bit more.
that's a great point. You guys are sick for the Palmer huge exposures. I don't get it, but you're gonna have to explain it to me another time. You guys are sickos. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, I don't get it. So half kidding. But Fantasy Dog way in. Gonna take some time off. Yes, that's a good point. Fantasy Dog, touch grass, and we'll see you in a few weeks. uh, Always at ADP or after on Fields, yeah, which is crazy. And then even with the way under on Wilson, I have him at QB6. Oh, nice. Yeah. So are you stacking him with Wilson? Or are you stacking him with Brees, or kind of how do you play? That would be my follow up question.
Mason Taylor, come on down.
Appreciate you, Fantasy Dog. Have a great night, man. Thielen is cup light, I think to some extent, and maybe he's actually. Who knows? I mean, I've been kind of out on Cup. I haven't been drafting him, but then I just think back to like he still had some spike weeks last season. I get it was on the Rams, and now he's on the Seahawks, and the Rams let him walk to a divisional opponent. There's all these bad red flags, but maybe Cup's worth sprinkling in more than none. I'm kind of coming around to that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's worth sprinkling in on the Seahawks, but not overexposed by any means.
Yeah, they gave Thielen more money because he's that good. So that's our finite and final answer on Thielen. He's just good. He gets the job done. And with that, we've answered all the questions. We've drafted 3 teams into the late hours of this Friday night. Hope you guys had fun. Thanks for drafting with us. Thanks for interacting in the chat. If you're new here, make sure you're subscribed to Hartman's channel. I'll put it into the chat one last time. I'll have it in the description after the show. If you're watching this in the future, you would have already seen it in the description or in the comment by now that I'll put below this. But appreciate you guys coming out. Make sure you slap a like on the way out if you haven't already. Appreciate the subs. Make sure you're subbed to Hartman's channel as well. We'll see you guys in another draft real soon. And Hartman, I mean, you killed it tonight. A lot of good takes. I think we drafted some killer teams and a lot of fun on here. So we'll have to do it again real soon for sure.
Yeah, no, it was real fun. Thanks for having me on. I mean, it was a real good time just talking ball. I think we actually have a lot of similar takes on, a lot of players actually I'm kind of figuring out.
No
But
doubt.
uh but yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun and we looked good doing it. And
Yeah.
with that, I'm going to send it to the outro. Catch you on another one soon. Peace.